No one would have imagined that the archaeological excavation of a mysterious ruin would trigger an ancient seal, and in turn, it became a catastrophe for all humanity. A strange blood cola crimson mist quickly spread across every city. Humans caught within the blood mist couldn't withstand the mutation, going mad before dying violently. Yet, most other living creatures transformed into terrifying creatures with bizarre abilities. They were described as aberrations. Wherever these aberrations went, they left cities in ruins. Fear spread like plague, missiles were released, and it hit the city, dust and smoke-covered area. One guy looking like a zombie with an aberration-like claw hand looked for Xiaojue. Some wolf aberrations faced him, but he continued to look for her. He clawed at the wolf aberrations. After that, he looked tired and unstable. He stepped on the ruins, still searching for Xiaojue. He walked like a zombie. Until he saw a doll. He hurriedly approached it while thinking of Xiaojue. He was about to take the doll using his claw-like hand, but he stopped and changed it back to his regular hand before grabbing the doll. And then tears fell from his eyes. He desperately wanted to know where she was. 3 days ago. Reports came in about a crimson mist appearing in multiple areas. The public were advised not to panic and to stay indoors as much as possible. Meanwhile, there's this family on a car ride. The son and daughter were sleeping in the back seat. The military personnel banged on their car while ordering them to move the car immediately. The mother was in the passenger seat while the father drove. He expressed his disbelief in the politicians. The daughter expressed to her older brother that she's scared. Her brother assured her that it would be fine since they were all with her. While the father complained about involving the army and disguising the event as a natural disaster. The son noticed the huge commotion outside. He got curious about what the crimson mist was. Then it was followed by a loud explosion. It surprised them. Immediately he covered her sister and told her to get down. A car fell on top of their car. The son asked his parents if they're all right. The father admitted that his leg was stuck while the mother was coughing. She asked what happened. A loud sound had caught their attention. Fear washed over their faces. They saw people running away from an aberration. Immediately, the father told them to get out of the car. The son kicked the door open and climbed out. He tried to open her mother's door, but it was stuck. She told him to just take his sister and go. But he wanted to get them out. His sister trembled at the sight of the aberration approaching a man. That man screamed for help loudly. Seeing how near the aberration was, their mother urged him to go at once. His father reminded him that he's the big brother, so he had to be responsible for her. They left Xiaojue, his sister, in his care. Then, an explosion blasted them away. The aberration had jumped towards their car. Xue screamed for their mom and dad. The aberration got agitated with the ruckus. It targeted them. Xue wanted to go to their parents, but her brother dragged her away. The whole area was in chaos. The flying aberration took the military aircraft down. They ran as fast as they could. On the way, they noticed how the animals and the people went insane. The big brother questioned what on earth was happening. Crimson mist covered the area while the wolf-like aberration went on a hunt. The siblings hid behind a shelf. The brother peeked and saw the wolf walking away. He was relieved that it was finally gone, but his sister suddenly felt strange. She cradled her head. He asked her what was wrong. She admitted that she doesn't feel well. The brother saw their faces in the mirror and there were lines forming on it. He suspected it was because they inhaled too much of the crimson mist. He took out some supplies on the shelf and dampened the cloth with water. Then he covered his sister's nose and mouth using that. But in that moment, he felt a pang of pain. He felt so hot, and something was forcing its way out of its body, and he couldn't stop it. Zhu asked him what was wrong, but he lied that he's fine. He tried to control his trembling hand. The roaming wolf-like aberration sensed them. He yelled, "Stop!" at his body, scaring her sister. Then the aberration spotted them. Immediately they ran and it chased after them. They left the supermarket and was blocked with a winged aberration. They were surrounded. He held his sister tightly while comforting her not to be scared. Then the winged aberration flapped its wings while roaring loudly. Several more aberrations approached them. There was even this red dragon-like monster above them. The brother thought that they're really going to die. Also, before we proceed, this guy will be our MC, so be sure to wait for his OP plot armor. The brother dragged her sister to go back inside. Because it was more dangerous outside. He grabbed a stick while saying that it was their only shot. He charged at the wolf aberration. and broke the stick instead. Then the wolf aberration attempted to eat him. He crashed on the ground while trying to stop its mouth from closing. It stopped when suddenly it was hit by an arrow on the eye. Zhu helped him using the crossbow that she found. But then, the wolf aberration attacked her instead. Her brother yelled at her to run. She did. Her brother told her not to look back. Meanwhile, the brother coughed blood and was in excruciating pain. It happened during a really bad time. Shui tripped and fell while the wolf aberration was just behind her. The brother gripped the wall to help himself up, and suddenly a bright red light shot up to the sky. The debris fell on the wolf, and the brother pinned it down on the ground. Then he stabbed it using rebar steel. He stabbed it over and over while telling it to go to hell. Shui saw this and got worried for his brother. She immediately hugged him to make him stop. She had no clue what was wrong with him. She assured him that she's fine so he could stop. Concurrently, her brother remembers their parents telling them to run. They left Shui in his care. While his father assured him that he would take care of his mother, he was told to take care of Shu and survive. Then he heard Shu calling out to him. He regained his senses and saw her sister hugging him. He apologized for making her worry. She asked if he's fine now. He was to reply that he's fine, but he saw a winged aberration through the glass approaching Sui. He immediately grabbed her to evade the attack. The winged aberration turned its attention to them. He hit it with a rebar. To make it go away, his attack sent the bird flying away. Then he told Shui to hide while he dealt with it. Shui got worried that he'd go alone. The big bird aberration had its eyes on them, so he had to lead it away. But Shui didn't want him to go. She was scared that he'd lose control again. He assured her that it won't happen this time, and requested her to wait there and he'll be right back. She made him promise that he'll come back safe and sound. He promised her that. Then he stepped out. He had this theory that hunting aberrations and absorbing the red energy from them would make him stronger. So he expected the energy from the big bird to be greater. So as long as he took it down, he would have enough power to protect his family. He yelled at it to die. The big aberration watched him, but the wolves attacked instead. It was like he's not even worth its time. He hit the wolves with the rebar as he made its way to the aberration. His attacks were powerful, but the wolves worked together. After he hit one in front, a wolf from behind bit his arm. It made him furious and his hands transformed into claws. He hit those wolves with those claw-like hands. He was elated with the power that he's feeling. An aircraft flying above them caught the big aberration's attention. He got confused when it flew. This man regained his senses and wondered what happened to him. A missile was fired in his direction. And at that moment, Shui came out and asked if he's okay. He panicked as he yelled at her not to come out. Then the missile exploded. The aircraft saw some survivors, so it landed to check them out. They saw someone infected, so they left him. Instead, they took the girl. Our MC had hazy vision, but he saw his sister being boarded to the aircraft. The military hurried because the aberrations would be back soon. He extended his claw-like hand as the aircraft flew away. Then he lost consciousness. Shui was teary-eyed when she called out to his brother. She was burning while she asked why he didn't save her. He extended his claw-like hand to her, but she was gone, and that jerked him awake. He had the same dream again. It had been half a year, and he was still searching for her. He was just glad that he wasn't exposed when he was asleep. He walked out of the building with a machine gun in his hand. When Zue was taken by those people, he searched every local shelter, but there was no sign of her. To find her sister, he joined the Border Patrol, the lowest-ranking unit in the army, and became a low-ranking soldier. In a chaotic world like that, only the army has the clearance to gather intel and travel freely. He arrived at Chishi City Border Outpost. He greeted the team captain for the Chishi City Patrol, Jia Jun, and apologized for arriving late. Jun kicked him. He was annoyed that he slacked off again and arrived late for his watch. He climbed a tall ladder while he heard someone say to him that when the big shots arrived, they could finally be clocked out. Then Jun warned him that if he screwed up, he'd make his life a living hell. Half a year ago, the Crimson Mist erupted. Most cities fell to ruin and became habitats for the aberrations. Along with the Crimson Mist, a mysterious Crimson Spire also appeared. The surviving humans can only eke out a living on the borderlands, far from the Spire and the Crimson Mist. As he watched the fallen city from a tall area, it made him wonder if the big aberration was still over there. Jun said that the special response unit was there, so they just needed to go through the motions. And even if they can't hold the line, a bunch of grunts like them couldn't do anything about it either. They were talking about the famous special response unit, so the man asked him why he thought they would fall. when the unit had been crushing aberrations all the way there. Meanwhile, our MC sat there on the cliff, while still hating the smell of the crimson mist. The fog brings out a creature's primal bloodlust and makes them turn to each other. Then he saw the crimson mist parting. He realized something was charging towards them. A soldier also noticed that something was wrong, so they pointed it at the captain. The captain scolded him for making a fuss. Then they saw the crimson mist surging towards them, and the special response unit was running towards them. They asked what in the world happened, but those men yelled at them to get back. The captain ordered everyone to fall back. The men from the special unit got engulfed by the crimson mist. Then the captain screamed out loud as his clothing got stuck. A dragon-like aberration had its talons on his hood. He thought it was the end for him. Our MC heard their screams from the cliff. He immediately jumped down. He landed on the aberration and crushed it. The other one turned its attention to the commotion. His hands transformed again. The other aberration attempted to eat him, but he ripped its head from the body. Then he absorbed a red energy from it. After absorbing that, he felt a little stronger. He got intrigued on what would happen if he absorbed a few more. 6 aberrations surrounded him, so his expectations got higher. But before he could do anything, those aberrations were hit by a powerful laser energy. He wondered who was there. A silver-haired woman was surprised to see him. This was the Blazing Blood Detachment Captain, Song Rui. He immediately recognized that it was someone from the Special Response Unit. He knew it wasn't good for him. He had to change back quickly. Rui ordered the unit to leave no one alive. Her men surrounded him. He raised his arms and told them not to shoot. He explained that he was Private Yan Hao of the patrol team. At 12 o'clock, the men fired. Their target was the aberration behind him. The Special Response Unit team confirmed that the target had been eliminated. Rui stepped forward and asked him where his weapon was. He knew he was screwed. Before Hao could answer, the man from the Special Response team received an order for all units to withdraw from the outpost to the temporary defensive line, and no one was allowed inside without Officer Song's permission. Inside the tent, Rui received a report that there were 37 casualties at the sector outpost. Among them, 2 were from the Special Response Unit's Ember Blood Squad, and 30 were from the patrol team. That concludes the casualty report for the incident. Hao had to ask on why he was being detained. He claimed that he was a victim too. Rui read to him that at 17:23, he left his post without authorization for 2 hours. Shortly after he returned, the Crimson Mist riot occurred. She gave him the chance to explain himself. He needed to find a way to talk his way out of it. He stuttered at first, then he explained that he took a nap in the nearby ruins but had informed their captain. His teammate said that he's late for every mission, and the captain always lets it slide. This rat annoyed him. He threatened him with his gaze that if he continued spouting nonsense, he'd kill him. The man warned him not to frame the captain. Rui realized that their patrol team has quite a few problems. As if sensing he was being talked about, Jun sneezed. He was wrapped in bandages all over his body, but the doctor assured that he's not going to die. All his tests came back pretty normal. But the team member beside him doubted if that could really be considered normal. Back in the tent, Rui reads the file that says that he only passed basic training 3 months ago. In the last battle, even the Special Response Unit lost 2 people, yet Hao managed to survive. Hao replied that he's scared of dying, and he was on a track team back in school, so he was faster than most. He claimed that when he saw the Crimson Mist coming, he ran. She asked him why he would join the army when he's scared of dying. She asked if he had some other objective. During the 6 months he had been searching for Yu, he had been constantly killing and absorbing low-level aberrations. He gradually learned to control his transformations between beast and human form. For half a year, he avoided people like a lone wolf. He used the most primitive method to search every ruin, visiting every human settlement. As a soldier, Rui called him a coward who clings to life. She was mad that he abandoned his post and withheld information. She expected that he knew the consequences. He asked if she's going to execute him. She whispered in his ear, asking what was going on with his hands. That confirmed that she saw it. She asked why he would lie and what his real objective was. Their conversation got interrupted when the ground shook. She thought it was an earthquake, but Hao was familiar with that feeling. He stood up and told her to run. It was a horde of aberrations approaching. She was annoyed that he tried to run away while in front of her. It was like she wasn't even there, so she subdued him. The men with her got scared that she's losing it. They told her to go easy, because the ground would collapse, and it did. They fell in a dark area. They were now underground. It was too dark, so Rui ordered the lights on. The man called Hao a walking disaster. Nothing good happens when he's around. He replied that they should complain after making it out alive. The man doubted if they would really be able to go out. They got the light stick on. They saw the area was like a maze dug by an aberration. Rui ordered them to stay calm and check their weapons. Also, to maintain their formation and cover their backs. There was a gust of wind. It caught Hao's attention. The man beside him asked why he glanced there. He replied that he heard wind. The man immediately thought it was a way outside, so he went to check. The man happily reported that there was indeed a breeze. He commended Hao, saying that even if he was a brat, he's a first-class escape artist. He also saw light ahead. He got excited, saying after knowing that there's a path ahead. He didn't notice that an aberration was creeping behind him. Rui yelled at him to get down. She fired and beheaded the monster. The green fluid almost hit him. The fluid from these beetles was corrosive. Then she scolded the man, telling him not to act without her orders. She recognized that Hao was avoiding risks. She told him that once they get out, he must explain everything. Hao wondered what she's planning. She knew his secret and hasn't called him out on it yet. Then they heard a sound. They could tell something was coming. It was a horde of aberrations. Those bugs came out of the holes. They were really in deep trouble. Those bugs crept towards them. They fired at it as they fled. But Hao sensed something. Rui saw him and yelled at him not to stop and keep running. But he noticed that the swarm had stopped. The other men saw something ahead. It was such a large aberration. They called it a dominator class, and it had absorbed the crimson mist, and it converted the crimson mist into energy. Hao told them to pay attention because that thing was dangerous. Rui fired at it. At the same time, it unleashed the energy. It got hit. But when Rui saw the incoming energy, she froze. Fortunately, our boy blocked the attack with his transformed hand. She was surprised. He told her that when they make it out there alive, he would explain everything properly to her. He made his other hand transform too. She was worried because even her attack had no effect. She wondered if he truly had a way. She told him to be careful. He replied yes. Then he charged at it. This Dominator class aberration reminded him of the previous aberration. The monster had rankings: Scout class, Hound class, Dominator class, Colossus class, and Catastrophe class. He got curious how much stronger he could become once he had absorbed it. After his attack, he realized how tough it was. If it was a normal beast, it would have been torn to pieces already. Its massive body was an oversized armored war vehicle. He assumed that it must have devoured quite a few of his kind. It attacked him, but he got away. He even commented that it was too slow. He was curious if it placed all its enhancement into defense, but it was nothing but a moving target. The other two men fired at it, but they couldn't believe it. The guy who always ran faster than anyone else. The one who is most afraid of death. It made them question who Yan Hao truly was. Rui replied that he was an experimental subject secretly developed by the Special Unit United Government for fighting alien beasts. They couldn't believe that it was a guy who took 3 months just to pass basic training. The one who runs faster than anyone at the first sign of danger would be an anti-beast combat experiment. They asked Rui if she already knew about it. She replied that she only confirmed it when he blocked the beast's attack for her earlier. The other man was silent. He was the Crimson Blood Expedition Squad Deputy Officer, Lin Yongji. He doubted if the special unit really had such experimental subjects. Or it could be that his captain, Rui, was hiding something. She explained that he escaped from the laboratory, and they didn't expect him to slip into the border patrol. The man inquired if the last Crimson Mist outbreak incident was because of Hao. She replied that it can't be ruled out, which was why she must investigate him. She warned the guy that it was top-secret information of the special unit, so whatever he sees or hears shouldn't be leaked out. She confirmed if the patrol soldier understood. He replied yes. The large aberration gathered energy on his mouth again. Then it released the condensed orb energy. And that's not good. He told the 3 to dodge. It hit the ground. Rui was able to evade. The unnamed patrol soldier was surprised that he's alive. Yongji grabbed him to help him dodge earlier. Then this patrolman saw that his leg was injured. Yongji assured him that he wouldn't die. He couldn't believe that a man from a special operations unit would do that for a lowly person, like who was just a mere soldier. Yongji replied that 1 leg in exchange for 1 life was quite a bargain, but the patrolman was worried because his mission was to target a beast, and he just lost an important combat ability for him. He clarified that he didn't become a soldier just to kill those damned beasts. He exists to protect. And as humanity's final shield, he would never abandon anyone. It made the patrolman speechless. Meanwhile, Hao was thrown by the monster. The Crimson Mist's energy had been depleted. He could no longer maintain a single arm transformation. He was up against a Dominator-class Steel Shield Thorn Bug. Now he learned how troublesome this Dominator class was. The Dominator-class Steel Shield Thorn Bug roared loudly. It targeted Hao, but it got hit on the side. It was from Rui. She yelled at Hao that he can't die yet. There were still so many things he had to explain. The Dominator-class Steel Shield Thorn Bug laughed. Rui noticed it. Then she saw the Crimson Mist surging out from the cave. The interconnected tunnels let it easily transfer the Crimson Mist from other places. And because of that, the bug could replenish its energy. She saw its wound starting to heal. If that goes on, it will return to its peak state again. She realized that the sudden Crimson Mist eruption at the outpost before was its doing. She knew they couldn't kill it, so she suggested running while they could. But he refused to. He wanted to kill it. Summoning the red mist had also replenished him. Now that it can't move recklessly, it was their best chance to attack. But if they fail, he would die there. He wandered the gates of hell a lot of times, and one more time doesn't matter. She agreed with him and took the only chance they had. She planned to unleash all of her power to blast open its head armor. Then Hao will take the chance to destroy its brain completely. It was the only way they could defeat it. She opened fire. At the same time, Hao went towards the monster. With Rui's attack, the head armor had been shattered. Then, Hao followed it up with his own attack and it landed on its head, and then continuously attack it. The green fluid leaked out of its body. Rui waited to find out if they succeeded. Hao fell from its head and crashed on the ground. She immediately rushed to his side. She asked if he's all right. She saw something fall on top of him. It was a photo. She didn't notice the black crystal on his hand. It dug to his palm. Deep in his consciousness, he was confused at first. And later, he saw himself, but he couldn't control his body. He realized that he completely turned into a beast. But he's confused about what he's doing. He wondered if it was like his life flashing before his eyes. He saw a glowing DNA. Eventually, he felt that he could move, and he felt something on his chest. It was the crystal inside the giant aberration. It looked like some kind of energy body. He was confused how it transferred on his chest when he was just holding it earlier. Then it absorbed the Crimson Mist. Not only that, but it also stores it. So even if he absorbs more Crimson Fog than before, and beastify further, he won't need to worry about losing control anymore. It was like insurance when he lost control. It would reclaim the Crimson Mist in his body and restore his sanity. That way, he could absorb the aberration without hesitation and evolve stronger. He doesn't need to worry about counting every kill. He was disappointed when he learned that the crystal had limited capacity. If it continued, it would burst. Then he remembered something. In the bug's last move, it consumed a huge amount of Crimson Mist. Since it can absorb Crimson Mist, he converges it together. Meanwhile, his body was placed in a hospital bed. The Crimson Fog leaked out from his chest. Eventually, he opened his eyes. Then he gathered the Crimson Fog in his palm. At that moment, Rui entered and saw him. She panicked and asked what he's doing. He yelled at her to get out of the way. Then the energy burst with such force that it erupted outward. 5 minutes ago. The patrolman reported to Rui about Yongji's leg. She replied that he was a soldier and was prepared for it, so there was no need for him to blame himself. Rui entered the hospital room. Yongji asked her what was the deal about Hao, since he had never heard of the special unit having test subjects. She replied that it was a top-secret case. She took his tablet and advised him to focus on his recovery and not to concern himself with anything else. Also, she had informed him that she had requested a transfer for him to the logistics department at the headquarters, so from then on, he could get some proper rest. He replied that he will report the matter truthfully to her father, Chief Staff Song Lian. He trusted that he would make his own judgment. It made her furious and reminded her who his superior officer was. From then on, his communication privileges were frozen. He also wasn't allowed to go anywhere. After that, she went straight to Hao in Ward 314. They've arrived in his room. She ordered the patrolman to guard at the door. No one was allowed to enter without her command. And when she opened the door, Hao had a concentrated energy on his hand. He was extremely surprised to see her. She asked what he was doing while he yelled at her to get out of the way. He could no longer control the energy, and it was unleashed. She ducked to evade it. The powerful force of the energy also made the patrolman outside fall. It passed through 3 buildings, the last one being split in half. From the window, Yongji saw that the abandoned building was pierced through. He wondered if Hao did that. If so, he wondered how long Rui could hide the whole situation. The patrolman trembled in fear, as he also complained about being the unlucky one. He called for help since he didn't want to die. Rui recognized that it was the bug's move from before. It made her curious why Hao could use an aberration's abilities directly without beastification armor. She reminded him that he owes her a few explanations. They went to the hospital rooftop and discussed it. She learned about him and summarized that not only can he absorb an aberration's beast core, but he can also learn its abilities. He added that it wasn't just that because he could also absorb and store more crimson mist, and that the crystals were able to self-repair. She smiled as he commented that he had a lot of features. He admits to having obtained their strength and abilities, but he also worries that he's slowly becoming one of them. It made him question if someone like him could still be considered a real human. He asked her what she sees him as. She replied that he's one of a kind, and being a human or monster would depend on how he uses his power. She also knew his power was both a disaster and a weapon. She gave him 2 options. Either he joins the Blazing Blood and becomes a reserve soldier in her squad, or be classified as a threat and be eliminated just like the aberrations. He asked about the elimination. Then she admitted that the troops in the city don't have the ability to do that, even her. But also thinking that he could take the special unit alone was far too arrogant. She persuaded him that joining her squad has its benefits, status, intel, and resources, and she would handle any trouble that would come his way. He was amused that she's willing to take on a dangerous element like him that she just met and whose power was out of control. He could tell the price was high, and for her to go through all that trouble to recruit, he knew she must have some other objective. She could tell he was smart. Then she admitted that there's a reason why she needs him. She assured him that they aren't enemies, and then she suggested to think of it as a transaction. He was surprised when she revealed a photo of him with his sister. Then she warned him not to underestimate her. If she wanted to investigate his past, it would be a child's play for her. Then she told him that if he joins Blazing Blood, she would use their highest level intelligence network and every resource at her disposal to help him find his sister. Hao knew to himself that there's a limit to what he can do searching blindly on his own. And just as she said, a higher rank and status in the military, he'd be able to investigate more places and it would be easier to move around. He accepted the deal, but he suggested that since she needs him so much, she should give him an increase in pay. He admitted that all his previous salary had been spent when he looked for his sister. As the captain of the Blazing Blood, she approved him as a Blazing Blood reserve soldier with salary and benefits at the highest standard. Then she instructed him to get the hell out and do the paperwork. He followed the order. He headed to the patrol team to handle the transfer at once. But before he left, she remembered something. She paid for the damages he did in the hospital, so she would be deducting it from his salary. Then she thought of her uncle and became even more determined to save him. Hao couldn't believe he had to pay for it after all. Rui had a feeling that he holds the key to turning an aberration back into human. A few days later at Chishi City Patrol Team Garrison Building, Hao learned that the other patrolman was going to the Special Response Unit too. The patrolman boasted that the captain and Deputy Yongji thought highly of him. Although he joined the logistics department, he was confident that they could work together. Hao doesn't even remember the guy's name. He hadn't really paid much attention before. Suddenly, the man saw Captain Jun, and he was okay now. Hao turned to him. Jun's right arm and left leg were broken. The big muscular guy could remember how he slapped him for a mute woman, and now Jun was acting like a stray dog begging their city defense team for his squad member's pension. Then he kicked the injured Jun. He was the Chishi City Defense Team captain Zhang Shi. The patrolman with Hao got angry and charged at them, but he was subdued by 2 men. He yelled at them to let go of the captain. Shi grabbed Jun's jaw, spat at him, and told him to get on his knees and lick the mud off his shoes, or else he'd break the kid's arm and give it to him as a crutch. Jun grits his teeth. He was about to get on his knees, but Hao lifted him and told him that there's no need to kneel. He was surprised to see Hao. Hao acknowledged that he helped him a lot before, and this time, it was his turn to repay the favor. He announced his presence and warned that if anyone dared to touch a single hair on the captain's head, he'd break their bones and burn them for firewood. It angered everyone. They all charged at him while saying that he's courting death. Hao evaded them. He kicked the first one, elbowed the second guy, kicked the third guy on the knee, and punched the fourth one on the gut. The last man crashed on the wall. In an instant, all 4 were down. Then the guy behind Shai yelled that their captain was an E-rank warrior. They told him that he would be dead for attacking them. Deep inside, Shi was surprised that he took his men down in just 4 seconds. It made him wonder how he's so fast. Shi pointed the gun at Hao. He couldn't believe that trash from the patrol team dared to oppose the city guard. He fired 3 bullets at him. Then Hao grabbed the gun while telling him the speed at which he fired. It was too slow. Then Hao crushed the gun in his hands. He told him that his speed wasn't even 1% of Rui's. Shi became furious and took out a dagger. But Hao grabbed his hand. He threw the weapon and grabbed Shar by the neck. He remembered that the guy wanted the captain to kneel. He tightened his grip, which made Shai panicked. Hao glared at him and told him it was his turn. Then he smacked the shit out of this guy down into the ground, and that left him unconscious with his mouth frothing. The other men couldn't believe that he dodged a bullet and crushed a standard issue pistol with his bare hands. Deep inside, Hao realized that the physical strength enhanced by the Beast Core was beyond his expectations. The members of the defense team called him a monster, then they ran away. He picked up the crutch, then the patrolman approached him and told him that he's like a god of war. He asked if he's okay. He replied that his body could take the beating. Hao gave the crutch to Jun. He thanked him. But Hao replied that he had nothing to thank him for since he had always taken care of him. Standing up for him was the only thing he could do. But Jun became worried that the city defense team would come looking for trouble with him. The patrolman told him that he had nothing to worry about, because Hao and him became members of the Special Response Unit, so the city defense team wouldn't dare do anything to them. That night, at Chishi City, Special Response Unit, temporary base. Rui asked if all the handover paperwork was done. He replied yes. Then she informed him that she sent his application to join the team to headquarters, and the headquarters had approved it. He was impressed at how efficient they were. He asked if it means that he became an official member. She told him not to be hasty because the next step was the real step. He must depart immediately for the headquarters in Hucheng to participate in the entry assessment for the Special Response Unit's combat division. She believed that with his strength, passing won't be a problem. He was confident that he would even set a new record. At Hucheng, the armored vehicle made its way. Rui informed Hao that Hucheng was the capital of the special unit. Blazing Blood's headquarters were there too. Hao heard that the minimum rank for an official Blazing Blood member was a D-rank warrior. He asked how those ranks were determined. He pointed at the unnamed patrolman beside him and said that he was weak, so he couldn't believe that he's taking Blazing Blood's assessment. The unnamed patrolman replied that he could take a beating. Rui clarified that he's joining the logistics team, not the combat team, so he doesn't need to take the combat assessment. The unnamed patrolman informed him that the logistics team fights right alongside the combat team, so later on, Hao might have to rely on him. Since they had a lot of time while on the way, Rui wanted to sink some intel. She explained that people like her who can use some special abilities were collectively known as warriors. A warrior's combat power was divided into 6 ranks: A, B, C, D, and E. The Special Response Unit headquarters has a special rating system. The basics they look at are physical strength and stamina, and as for aberrations, they're classified from weakest to strongest. The 5 classes were Scout class, Hound class, Overlord class, Behemoth class, and Calamity class. Under normal circumstances, an E-rank warrior can defeat a Scout class aberration by the same logic. D-rank warriors could handle Hound class aberration. C-rank and B-rank warriors could manage against Overlord class aberration, and an A-rank warrior could handle a Behemoth class aberration, and only the S-rank warrior could handle a Calamity class aberration. In addition to that, the affinity with a Beast Core also affects the rank. Hao asked about the Beast Core affinity. She explained that in the recent world, only aberrations that mutated from the Crimson Mist have special abilities. Human warriors, on the other hand, could only awaken special abilities by attuning to an aberration's Beast Core through Beast Core armament. So things like his physical condition, talent, and even luck all affect his Beast Core affinity. The better his affinity, the higher the quality and number of abilities he can awaken. If he can't attune to a Beast Core, the highest rank he can achieve is E rank. The military truck had stopped. A member of the city defense team informed them that the street was closed due to traffic. They were advised to take a detour. They couldn't believe that these men dared to block the special response unit. The city defense reasoned that they're also on official business, so they had no choice. A white car with a green intertwined vine logo passed by. Rui saw it and wondered what a big shot from the Green Vine group was doing there. She could tell something was not right. An hour later, at the Blazing Blood entry assessment site, The man in front informed everyone that blazing blood was humanity's strongest shield and the Special Response Unit's sharpest blade. He is Ling Yongshin, head examiner of blazing blood and also an A-rank warrior. He didn't care what kind of background they had, but once they're in there, they had to play by their rules. He also informed them that pulling strings won't be tolerated. He doesn't care who they are. If they didn't have what it takes, then they shouldn't even think of staying in blazing blood. The first event was the physical assessment. The first task was the 50-kilogram weighted 100-meter dash. Hao reached the end in just 5.10 seconds. Next was the electromagnetic force-weighted dumbbell. Hao surprised everyone when he lifted the 100-kilogram. After that was the striking power test, which came out too easy for him. He actually broke the testing machine, so his score couldn't even be calculated. 10 minutes later, he informed the head examiner that he had completed all the events. Yongshin confirmed it and announced his score to be 198 points. It surprised everyone since the previous rookie record was only 140. Some assumed that he cheated. Someone approached Yongshin and raised a concern that the rookie record was 140 points. So this man, Zhang Jin, was the Chishi City defense team captain's younger brother, refused to accept that Hao exceeded the record. Yongshin replied that he supervised it himself, and it was all on camera. He got offended since it seemed like he was accusing him of letting Hao through the back door. Jin replied that he wouldn't dare, though he was curious. He asked Hao if he's from the Chishi City patrol team. Hao was confused, but he replied yes. Then he told him that he just wanted to say hello, since they're from the same hometown. But deep inside, he planned something sinister for the kid. He wanted revenge for his older brother who was humiliated. Hao was intrigued when he mentioned that they were from the same hometown. Yongshin informed him that the guy was Jin, one of those rich kids from the Chishi City defense team. He asked if he knew him, but he didn't. But after learning that he's from the Chishi defense team, he realized that the whole city defense team crowd was rotten to the core. Later on, Yongshin announced the result of the physical test. In 30th place was Zhang San with 89 points, and so on. Then the third place was taken by Zhang Jin with 123 points. Second place was Jin Ying with 135 points, and the first place was Hao with 198 points. A blonde woman looked delighted. She came to take the assessment for fun, but she couldn't believe that there would be such a strong rookie. She got excited to study him closely. This person was Jin Ying, a senior researcher in the Technical Intelligence Bureau, in the single dorm room. Jin was talking to someone through the tablet. He felt bad that he hadn't gotten first place. He complained that two monsters showed up out of nowhere, but the person on the line told him that if his brother wasn't a dog for the Green Vine group, he wouldn't even qualify for the assessment. They reminded him that he only had one chance, so he better not screw it up. He was determined to get into blazing blood for his brother. At the Beast Corps testing station, Yongshin assured them that the test wasn't complicated. They just had to put on the wrist guard and place the Beast Core on it to begin the test. Anyone with a Beast Core affinity below 40% would be eliminated immediately. He explained the Beast Core, just in case there's someone who doesn't know it yet. Only Hound class or higher aberrations can produce a Beast Core. The stronger the aberration, the higher the quality of the Beast Core it produces. By socketing a Beast Core into an aberration armament, a warrior can use special abilities just like an aberration. Black quality Beast Core was commonly found in Hound class and Overlord class. The quality goes up from black, rust red, blood red, pink, and the highest was the gold. Everyone has a different affinity for Beast Cores and will awaken abilities of different attributes based on that affinity and their own innate talent. They could be elemental, power, or support control. The wrist guard was the lowest grade of aberration armament. It can only test their own affinity, and it won't grant them any abilities. Once they officially join the Blazing Blood Combat Division, they would be given better Beast Cores and aberration armaments. Then he announced the beginning of the Beast Core affinity test. The first one was a D rank with an affinity of 39%. He fell into despair because he ranked 5th in the physical exam, and yet this assessment was even harder than killing aberrations. The next candidate was classified D rank with 56% affinity. He was so happy he passed and could finally join the Blazing Blood. Jinx was next. His eyes were red. He picked up the stone and placed it on the wrist guard. Then he ordered it to obey him. Then it showed his score. D rank with 605 affinity. Everyone was shocked because the strongest rookie last year only got 56%. He could be the strongest one for that year. Jin claimed they're a bunch of trash and he's the strongest one in there. Hao watched his confident ass get down from the stage, when Ying approached him. She asked if he's from Chishi City. She was curious why she never heard someone as strong as him before. She told him that she's a know-it-all at the technical bureau, so it was a surprise that he managed to stay off her radar, which made him impressed. Then she deduced that the abnormal fluctuation in the Crimson Mist's concentration in Chishi City a few days ago had something to do with him. He tried to play dumb. She told him that it's fine even if he won't admit it. She just wanted to express to him how interested she was with him. He took the chance to extract information from Miss Know-It-All. She agreed to it. But she had a condition. If his score was higher than hers, she'll tell him anything he wants to know. Then she was called to go in front. She called everyone's attention and announced that she was about to break Jin's record. Hao got intrigued if she's that strong, while Jin insulted her. She picked up the black stone, spun it on her hands, and placed it on the wrist guard. Then it showed that she's a D rank with 78% affinity. Everyone was shocked. Then, they recognized her to be the Jingli girl. She grinned widely. Then when she went down, she emphasized how she proved that she can break Jin's record. It made Jin angry. Besides Hao, he couldn't let the stinking bitch get away either. Hao was the last one to be called. Since he learned how strong she was, he started to be convinced that she's not lying. It could be that she knew a lot. Ying asked him if he's feeling pressured. For a clue about his sister, he was determined to win the bet. He told her to watch closely. According to Rui, his rank was at least C rank. The quality of the beast core was black, just like the one he absorbed. It made him curious what his affinity rate was going to be. He placed the stone on the wrist guard and got prepared to see how much potential he had. He expected C rank. He could imagine everyone's jaw dropping in shock because it was the level of a squad leader. But the system showed an error. A result like that had never happened before. It revealed 0%. Jin laughed loudly at him. It was hilarious that even the beast cores rejected him. Hao pouted. Then he saw his wrist guard. It emitted crimson mist. His body was forcefully devouring the beast core. Ying couldn't believe he got 0%. The worst anyone had before was at 1%. She had to record it. She knew the old man would be happy with it. Jin had a devilish grin seeing that beast core. He reported that Hao stole the beast core. Immediately, Youngshin instructed Hao to raise his hand so he could see the wrist guard and the beast core. It was gone. He asked where it was. He demanded an explanation. Hao replied that he doesn't know either. He felt awkward. He had to make up a reason at once, or he definitely turned into a lab rat. He took a gamble. He disguised his bestialization as an ability activated by the beast core. He showed them his claw-like hands. Jin was shocked. He wondered what that was. Immediately, Youngshin drew out his weapons and alerted all units. He told the participants to fall back, while Ying got excited at the sight of bestialization. Jin wondered if the guy was infected. Again, Youngshin told them to get back. He was determined to deal with him at once. Ying called Hao to ask if he could hear her. He asked her what. Youngshin was slightly caught off guard that he hasn't lost his mind. Hao nonchalantly replied that it was the beast core's ability, that it suddenly drilled into him, and then that happened. Ying was glad. He didn't go berserk, so it must have been a transformation ability. She got excited because it was the first time it happened. Youngshin told him that he hit the jackpot. Recovering on his own after transforming was unheard of. It was such a rare ability. It made Hao curious who Ying truly was because she knew so much. She smiled and replied that she's the one who knows everything. Youngshin revealed that she's a blazing candidate for the term, and also a senior researcher at the Technical Intelligence Bureau. Her father, Major General Jin An-cheng, was in charge of the entire Technology Research and Development Department. She got annoyed that he leaked the secrets and completely ruined her mysterious aura. Youngshin ended the conversation there and asked Hao to hand over the beast core. He was in a pinch. He admitted that it's not because he didn't want to hand it over, but the thing had latched onto his body and won't leave. Jin heard that. He immediately thought to report that to the Green Vine people. It made Hao the perfect test subject. At the radiology room, Hao was scanned by a machine. The researchers couldn't believe that a beast core grew on a person's body, and since the beast core had fused with his body, it can't easily be removed. They asked Director Jin what he thinks. He replied that it was worth researching. He could tell that there's more secrets there. Major General Jin An-cheng was the deputy director of the Technical Intelligence Bureau. 2 men entered and inquired about the situation and the kid's background. He asked if the Blazing Blood still planned to stick with the rules and not accept anyone with less than 40% compatibility. Song Lian, the lieutenant general, chief of the general staff for the special response unit, told him to stop being mysterious and reveal what was going on. Ansheng led the team that developed the testing equipment with Green Vine. He knew better than anyone that it was 0%. Ying told her dad to hurry up and reveal it because the suspense was killing her. She asked what was up with Hao. He revealed that the machine's reading went off the charts. The compatibility was unprecedented. It exceeded the theoretical maximum set at 100%. Lian ordered Yongxin to come with him immediately. Meanwhile, while inside the machine, Hao noticed the beast core turned red from black. He wondered if it was because it absorbed the small beast core. Before, absorbing the Overlord class aberration beast core led him to steal its ability and also activated the crystal core in his body. And now, absorbing a low-level beast core didn't grant him the ability, but the beast core was strengthened. From deep black, it turned to rust red. Total crimson mist storage had increased as well as crimson mist absorption efficiency. It became a dull, dark, reddish-brown like Old Rush with a matte finish and mottled dark impurities. In other words, the stronger the beast, the stronger he'll become after absorbing it. At the Special Response Unity Blazing Blood headquarters, Rui argues with Lian. She brought Hao in there, so she asked him what was the problem with him joining her squad. He reminded her to watch her status and tone. He also pointed out how she's paying too much attention to that C-rank rookie. She insists to her father that she promised to bring him into her team. She asked him not to make her a soldier who can't keep her word. But Lian argued that a soldier's word is to the country, not to an individual. He also firmly told her that Hao already joined Yongxin's team, and that can't be changed. He asked if she planned to fight a fellow Blood Squad leader for a recruit. He ordered to return to her post. She could only comply. But deep inside, she was determined to find another way. At the Blazing Blood Barracks Lounge, someone reported great news to Big News. It was Ying. She informed him that the newly discovered nest between Lake City and Redstone City was sending Blazing Blood rookies to explore. She applied with instructor Yongxin for them to team up. Yan Hao was identified to be a C rank and a member of Special Response Unit Blazing Blood under Yongxin's squad. Later on, Yongxin briefed them that the mission objective was to investigate and assess the threat level. He warned them to stay alert. Even though it was a nest, it could have changed due to the Crimson Mist. Ying, a D-rank senior researcher at the Technical Intelligence Bureau, also became a member of Yongxin's squad. She told him that data collection was her strongest suit, so she got him. The threat level of the beast nest was divided into 4 levels: low, medium, high, and extremely high. There were also many different types like high to medium. The low-level nest they're going to was a hive type. Its characteristic was a simple structure, but the internal passages were complex, and the deadliest part was there was a massive swarm of stinger bees composed of a large number of worker bees and a small number of soldier bees. Hao asked if a single person can't take care of a hornet's nest. He couldn't believe that they needed 3 cars full of people. Ying replied that iron bees were not little honeybees. Suddenly, the driver noticed something strange. Hao saw the bees outside. He was surprised when he saw how big those bees were. Just as Ying said earlier, they were Scout-class iron bees, and they're nothing like honeybees. The driver was the unnamed patrolman who became a private Special Response Unity service member. He told them to hold on tight. The bees released their stinger. It was how they attacked. Ying knew the armored car couldn't withstand that. Hao volunteered to handle the swarm outside. It was the perfect timing to try his newly developed move. His door melted. Then he jumped out of the car. He told them to find cover and defend. Then he charges at those bees. The unnamed patrolman was shocked and confused on what kind of ability used a door as a weapon. Ying explained that it was a transformation ability. Then she shared that during the assessment, Hao absorbed a beast core, and at that time, he could only transform himself, so she didn't expect him to be able to cover objects with the transformation ability. She got excited after learning that he could turn objects into weapons. She just had to record his combat data and study him carefully when they got back. Something was shot at Hao. The green stuff pierced through his arm. That aberration was stronger than the others since it could break through his defenses. He had to figure out where it was being shot from, otherwise he'll be worn down sooner or later. He told them that there's another enemy, but its location was unknown. He advised them to be careful and hide. They got behind a rock. One of the Special Response Unit members went the other way while saying that iron bees were afraid of fire. Ying yelled at him not to go out. As soon as he did, he got shot with the green spikes. And then fire engulfed him. Hao asked Ying where the green spikes came from. She saw that it was a Hound-class queen bee. Its tail stinger has venom that can corrode armor below C rank. She couldn't believe that there's actually a hound class. It made the intel wrong since it wasn't a low-level nest at all. He sought their help in taking care of the scout class iron bees while he went for the queen bee. She was up for it. She was an elemental type which had the basic ability of wind power. She unleashed a storm, and the gust of wind blew away the iron bees. The queen bee showed itself. Hao finally got it. It was a huge, menacing bee. He twisted the door and shaped it like a dual blade spear. Then he prepared himself to attack. He threw it with all his power. The spear traveled fast. It hit the queen bee. Hao had hit its vital point, but it was completely unfazed. It made Ying wonder how a hound class could have much power. She had a theory, so she told Hao not to let it escape, because it was about to advance to Overlord class. But Hao chose to lay on the ground and let it run since he's out of energy. And without any crimson mist to replenish, his energy was drained in an instant. He wished he stored some to fight the queen bee. Ying teased him if he's trying to play dead with his lifeless look. She asked if he needed a mouth-to-mouth. He replied that he's not interested in little kids. She got annoyed with his response. She gave her a Snickers bar while taking a break. He clarified that he's not out of energy because he's hungry. They were munching on it when the others arrived. They asked if they're okay. Hao replied that they're fine and suggested that they clean up the battlefield and set up a temporary camp, and the situation had to be reported immediately. Ying replied that she already reported it. When they checked, the queen bee was back in the hive, and the crimson mist concentration in the nest was still low. They could go in with their protective suits. Hao thinks they should wait for reinforcements. But she reasoned that the queen was injured, so it was a good opportunity to collect data and finish it off. And the threat level of the nest had risen to high-medium. If they succeed, they'll have completed a mission above their rank, and they would get a lot of benefits. Meanwhile, at the Special Response Unit headquarters, specifically in the Chief of Staff's office, Leon admitted that the highest-ups were currently very divided. It's not just people like them who want him to become a high-end combatant. There's also a bunch of mad scientists who advocate for using him as an experimental subject for research. He told Youngshin to keep a close eye on Hao because he's special. Suddenly, Youngshin received an urgent message. Leon ordered him to answer it. He received a report that the threat level of the nest Hao and the others were exploring was changing from low to high, and Ying had already gone in. It was absurd. Leon stated that Ying may seem unreliable, but she's meticulous. She wouldn't take such a risk, so he thinks something was strange. He ordered him to dispatch the nearest Blazing Blood unity for support. Rui will lead the team and depart immediately. Their primary objective was to ensure the safety of Ying and Hao, and the second one was to annihilate the beast nest. At that moment, Yongji came in. Youngshin thought he was still in the hospital. Leon clarified to Youngshin that he had his brother follow Rui. He asked if there was a problem, and Youngshin replied, no. So he ordered Youngji to report to Rui immediately and serve as her adjutant. Youngshin realized that it was him who arranged for his brother to be by Rui's side before. Leon did it for his daughter, despite not knowing why she's so interested in Hao. Meanwhile, Hao and Ying roamed the nest. Only him and her had the protective combat suits that can resist the crimson mist. He hoped everything would go smoothly. She saw the energy readings hadn't changed that much. But once the queen bee from earlier evolves into an overlord class, the difficulty of clearing the nest would increase dramatically. Hao sensed something, so he told her to stop. The queen bee showed up. This time it's a mutated iron-armored needle queen bee. Its size and oral apparatus on its tail could mean that it's an overlord class. She couldn't believe that it actually succeeded in evolving, when the low concentration of crimson mist shouldn't support such a rapid advancement. Not only that, but the other scout class poison needle bees had also been enhanced. She realized that the crimson mist concentration there has long since far exceeded the warning level. She couldn't understand why the analyzer didn't warn them. She fell on her knees and started coughing. She noticed that the protective suits had been tampered. The effectiveness against the crimson mist had been weakened. It led her to think that there's a mole in Blazing Blood. The crimson mist increased. He took her hand and ran to retreat. But deep inside, he was pleased that the crimson mist was delivered to him just when he was worried about lacking it. But he needed to get Ying to safety first, otherwise he couldn't fight it with peace of mind. A large stone fell in front of them. He told her to hide in there because the spot was concealed and well ventilated. She should be able to hold on for a while. Then she ordered him to contact the headquarters and have the reinforcements prepare protective suits while he held the aberrations off. She assured him to update them with data from inside the nest and the latest situation. Before he leaves, she warned him that if he doesn't come back, she'll chase him to the depths of hell and never let him go. He assured her that he'd definitely be back. The queen bee noticed him. He faced the mutated iron-armored poison needle queen bee, an overlord class, along with several other scout class iron bees. He was glad to have gained enough power to protect the people who were important to him, so this time he made the same promise he did with Shuei, which was to not fail. The swarm flew towards him. He only had enough red fog energy left for one shot. He absolutely cannot fail. He focused to condense the energy on his hand, and then he detonated it. This attack was the Crimson Condensation Blast. It was a powerful explosion. That could even be seen from outside the hive. He wondered if it worked. But then the crimson mist spread, and the bees came out unscathed. He couldn't believe it. Meanwhile, 3 minutes ago, Ying couldn't believe that someone had tampered with the analyzer. She fixed it so it should measure the crimson mist concentration accurately. It warned her that the crimson mist exceeds limits. The readings were so high, they were more than double the alert value. Suddenly she felt a gust of wind. It led her to think that an explosion happened outside. It wasn't an ideal scenario. The explosion stirred up the crimson fog, making it even thicker. By absorbing the high-concentration crimson mist fog, the bee swarms were able to evolve rapidly. Even the lowest scout class ones have evolved into hound class. They attacked Hao. He noticed that there were more of them, and they're getting stronger. Even with the crimson fog around, his replenishment rate can't keep up with his consumption. If that continues, he'll be drained. Ying got worried if he could hold on. Then she noticed his neck. There was a symptom of crimson mist corrosion. She realized that his protective suit must have been tampered too. She watched the measuring device. The readings continued to rise. She knew Hao would lose control. She helped by blowing away the crimson mist around him first. So, she released a wind pressure blast. When she found the timing, she detonated it. Hao was confused when the crimson mist around him had been blown away. He cursed because his energy supply had been cut off. The bees released their green stings. He blocked it using his forearm. The stings got stuck on his arm, and that's when he realized it had a paralyzing effect. It released more stings behind him. He knew he couldn't dodge it. Suddenly, someone arrived and blocked the stings using his body. It was Yongji. He was a C-rank strength type. His basic abilities were body fortification, hardening, and super sensing. His beast core source was an overlord pangolin. He yelled at Hao to focus, since the fight wasn't over yet. The bees surrounded them. In an instant, it got cut with laser attacks. It was done by Rui. She's a C-rank elemental type with basic abilities such as electromagnetism, and her derived abilities were lightning strike, railgun, iron sand, hacking, and magnetize. Her beast core source was a behemoth-class eel. Hao asked what she was doing there. She explained that they have received orders from headquarters to support them. She ordered all units to charge and clear out those damn bugs. Her squad followed her orders and charged in. Team A suppressed the forward passage with high heat. Team B covered the mid-range with fire. Yongji and Hao were ordered to fall back to recover. They followed her orders. At the same time, the queen bee had targeted them. Those who saw it first warned them. But Rui ordered them not to look back and to continue running. She didn't expect the queen bee to be an overlord class. She had to use her move. It was the electromagnetic annihilation attack. It was a high-voltage electric field created by the move, and it will destroy and paralyze all objects within its range. They saw her attack and hit something. When they saw it was the queen bee, they realized it was the one mentioned on the intel, and it was escaping upwards. But since Rui paralyzed it, it won't get far. She ordered an annihilation of the surrounding swarm to prioritize rescue. Hao couldn't believe how strong she was. Yongji looked proud when he shared the last time in Redstone City. Rui hadn't even brought her main combat gear, and she wasn't wearing her combat suit, so she couldn't use her abilities at full power. She looked for Ying. Hao pointed to where she's at. Then Ying called her, and stated that had she been 10 minutes late, they would have been retrieving her corpse instead. She told him to treat her when they got back, because she still owes her for also saving her last time. They had completed the first mission, which was to rescue the wounded, so they asked what their next move would be. She was ordered to exterminate the swarm and eliminate the threat of the beast nest. Meanwhile, Hao used the chance to quickly replenish some crimson mist energy. The crimson mist cannon blast didn't manage to finish off the queen bee, so he had to try again. He finished replenishing his energy. When he heard a noise, all of them got nervous and alert. The queen bee absorbed all the crimson mist from the entire nest. It looked like it was going to level up again. The reader warned them that it was about to break through level 4. Ying wondered where all the crimson mist came from. She got suspicious that the beast nest was actually a high-level one. The queen bee made a loud noise, which made a large sum of hound-class bees appear at the rear. Hao told them to handle the swarm, and he'd handle the queen bee since he had a way to deal with it. Rui announced to all the units to attack the swarm and cover Hao. Hao had to finish it for good, or else everyone in there would die. He hit it continuously, but his claws weren't enough. He released a crimson condensation blast again. It exploded in the area. He waited for the smoke to vanish to check if it worked, but it retaliated by unleashing its stinger. He realized that just bombarding it with energy wasn't enough to deal a fatal blow. He needed to find a suitable weapon. Then he noticed the queen bee's stinger on his side. He picked it up and used a bestialization coil. He held it like a sword. Then he approached the queen bee while evading its attacks. He coiled all his remaining crimson mist energy on his weapon. He prepared to return the favor of being granted a weapon. He held it tightly and sliced the queen bee with all his power. It caused another explosion in the air. After that, only the red beast core had remained from the queen bee. It was an overlord-class beast core, and he caught it. As soon as he touched it, he felt a pang of pain on his chest because the energy was so strong. It filled up the crystal core inside his body in an instant. He couldn't take it anymore. Meanwhile, Rui and the squad dealt with the swarm. Eventually, they wiped it all out. Ying expressed that he felt weaker. Rui ordered everyone to support Hao at once, but when she saw him, he was down on the ground. She called his name, concern evident in her voice. Hao was unconscious. They hooked him up on a monitor and saw that his heart rate was spiking and neural signals were erratic. He was exposed to too much red mist, so he could lose his mind anytime. Rui ordered Yongji to use the medical pod and block the neural transmissions. They moved to the temporary camp outside the nest. The unnamed Special Response Unit service member asked what was wrong with Hao. Yongji replied that Hao was fine. Rui assigned Ying to adjust and monitor the medical pod's parameters since she was a tech officer. The medical pod activated and anesthetic injection commenced inside. Ying told Rui that it was only a temporary fix. They still need to get back to the headquarters fast for proper treatment. Rui knew that. Meanwhile, inside Hao, he was being choked by a powerful version of himself while telling him to surrender his body and embrace the beast transformation. He assumed that it was his end. He thought of his parents and sister and felt apologetic towards them. He accepted that it was all over. But then, he saw his parents encouraging him to live. And also, Shui was there, reminding him of his promise to come back safe and sound. He remembered that she was still waiting for him. Then his colleagues surrounded him and told him to wake up. Ying refused to let him give up. They keep telling him he can do it. He realized that everyone was waiting for him. It registered to him that the fight wasn't over yet. He felt determined to live. He still had to find his sister and protect everyone, so he refused to go down. And he knew it wasn't just his responsibility, but his other self too. He broke free from the grip of his powerful self and got that other version of him chained up. He called his other self to go back since everyone was waiting for them. It merged with him. He grasped that there's a price for getting stronger. Every breakthrough was like dancing on the edge of an abyss. His consciousness came back, but he couldn't open his eyes, and his body won't move either. At that moment, the cars were on the move. The sandstorm was so intense that they couldn't see the road at all. It was dangerous to keep driving. Yongji informed Rui that there's an old city ruins 3 kilometers ahead so they could take shelter there. Rui asked Ying for Hao's status. Ying reported that the vitals were stabilized, but he hasn't regained consciousness. After learning that, she ordered Yongji to head for the ruins and to tell the vehicles behind them to follow. They reached the ruins. The 3 military trucks drove inside. Everyone was ordered to disembark and rest. But Rui could sense that something was off about the place. She ordered Ying to scan for environmental structural stability, crimson fog concentration, and heat signatures at once. Then she ordered her men to protect Hao on the pod, because that was also a direct order from the headquarters. Unbeknownst to them, someone watched them from the higher floor, and they were ambushed. Arrows were released towards them. Yongji saw the enemy attack and ordered everyone to take cover. He was hit by an arrow, but he hardened his arm to deflect it. Ying saw that the arrows were coated in bodily fluids of a venomous stinger wasp. Then a huge boulder came falling at them. Rui ordered everyone to spread out. She kicked the pod to get it out of harm's way. Then she got away just before the boulder hit. The debris flew all over the place. Yongji protected Ying using his hardened body. Then those men showed up. They were bandits and had planned to take everything. First, they threw glass bottles. Rui wondered what it was, but when it shattered, it released green gas. she realized it was the fluids of a Dominator-class mutated beast. The gas it produces has paralyzing effect. Then the bandits charged at them. A huge muscular man with an axe targeted Rui, but she skillfully evaded him and kicked him in the groin, and sent the man flying on the opposite wall. But just right after that, she saw something attached to the pod. She fell down as the paralysis took effect on her body. When the bandits had the hook attached, they started pulling. They saw those guys protecting the metal box with their lives, so they assumed that there's treasure inside. But Ying tried to go after it while yelling at them not to touch him, but someone shot an arrow on her ankle. She fell down and bled. She was in despair as she watched Hao get taken away. Meanwhile, inside the pod, a U-shaped mark appeared on Hao's upper chest, stretching from one side of the neck to the other. From the top ends of the U, a line extends to each shoulder. The mark glows faintly. Even when she was in pain, all she could think of was to save Hao. Rui told her to hang in there as she pulled the arrow. Inside Rui's head, it was such a failure since not only Hao was taken, Ying got hurt too. She broke half of the arrow, then bandaged her up. It was all they could do at the moment. She advised her not to move. Ying noticed how the bandits set up an ambush before they even got there. She finds it strange, and it made her wonder how they knew about their movements. Eventually, Youngji reported that the scene had been secured. Most of the vagrant bandits escaped while they were poisoned. There was a severe sandstorm outside, so she knew they couldn't have moved Hao above ground. With that, she suspects they had gone underground. Her men found an abandoned elevator shaft. A preliminary search suggests it was a passage to their hideout. She assembled a team immediately. Their next operation was a man-to-man combat with the objective to retrieve Hao. Rui ordered A-Team to secure the exit and protect Ying, while Youngji and Team B would rappel down with her. She reminded them that failure is not an option. The unnamed Special Response Unit service member wanted to go with them, but Rui refused because he's not a combatant and they don't know what was in there. The A-Team would protect him and Ying above ground, but he insisted because Hao was his best friend and the one who saved his life. So now that he's in danger, he just couldn't sit and wait. That convinced Rui. She warned him to stay close and not fall behind. Meanwhile, the bandits arrived at their base. They complained that the coffin was heavy, but it also made them curious about what was inside. They expected it to be good. One bandit carried an axe and told everyone to get out of the way. He raised his axe and hit the pod. The person who initiated to open the pod was the bandit leader, but he soon learned that the pod was tougher than a vault. They broke several crowbars and sledgehammers on it, and it hasn't even budged. A blonde young guy told them that he could open it, but they had to go down below. The bandit leader dismissed it as nonsense since there was nothing down there but a dead end. And the last 3 who went in never came back. They all laughed and mocked the kid. But the blonde guy insists that he has seen a key that can open it down there. The bandit leader got annoyed and grabbed the kid by the collar. This blonde guy offered him a deal that if he opens it, they would let him go, but if he can't, he can just kill them or do whatever he wants. The bandit leader warned him that if he tries any tricks, he'd slaughter him. Hao heard them and deduced that he ended up in the enemy hideout. After his beast core upgraded, his sensory abilities had been enhanced. Not only could he sense his immediate surroundings and the environment deep underground, but he can also sense the state of his own body. His beast core level was rust red with 67% crimson fog reservers. His evolved abilities in beast form were claws and tangle, and the abilities he acquired were crimson fog bomb and poison gland. He suspects that the poison gland came from the queen bee. The bandits arrived at the deeper floor. There was a fossil of a large creature in there. They warned the blonde guy not to try any tricks. The blonde guy pointed at one of the bones and told them that it was where the key was. The bandit leader ordered his men to bring the pod there. While doing so, the box exploded and the men were blasted away. Apparently, the box opened by itself. As soon as he rose, Hao released a poison gland. Everyone began choking. Hao liked the skill. It was a good support skill for crowd control. The bandit leader didn't expect that there's a person inside. He assumed that they purposely let them take him just so they could infiltrate the hideout. But Hao had no idea what they're talking about. The bandit leader intimidated him by introducing himself as a D-class warrior. He told him that killing a little punk like him would be as easy as crushing an ant. He was furious that they played dirty, so he attacked him. Hao activated the poison gland again, and then punched the bandit leader on the face. The bandit leader crashed on the wall, creating a dent on it. Someone got spooked, and it caught Hao's attention. Hao asked the blonde guy if he wanted to try his strength too, but the kid just passed out. After dealing with the humans, he noticed the surroundings. There were so many mutated beast skeletons in the place. He inspected it and saw that the skeletons were all damaged, which tells him that they didn't die from natural causes. Someone intentionally placed them there to fight to death, like in a gladiator arena. Then he heard Rui's electromagnetic sound. He could hear it from 10 floors away. He commented that she was hot-headed as ever. The bandits fired. But Yongji hardened his body and went after them. He kicked one bandit, and eventually they had secured the area. But there was still no sign of Hao. Rui ordered them to keep searching. They noticed that there were mutated beast claw marks everywhere. It led them to think that the place holds some secret. They approached the pit, and one of the military men reported that the detector signaled that Hao was below. But then suddenly, the signal disappeared. Rui immediately suspected that the pod was destroyed, which puts Hao in danger. But suddenly Hao just jumped out of the pit with a passed-out blonde guy on his arm and greeted everyone. Our MC's back. And the power-up really has been evident. Yongji asked Hao if he's okay. He replied that he's fine now. Rui questioned what was down there. He told them what he saw, an abandoned fighting ring. Yongji asked the captain if they should investigate. Rui replied that withdrawal is their priority and would just arrange an investigation later. The unnamed member asked about the kid that Hao was holding. Hao threw him on the ground. The kid charged at him with a dagger, but he stopped his hand, and the dagger shattered when it hit his partial beast form. Scales. He asked the kid if he's that eager to die. The kid reasoned that all soldiers were bastards. The kid's eyes were red and red lines appeared on his face. He told Hao to kill him. Hao knew that those were the symptoms of crimson fog infection. He hit the kid at the back to make him unconscious. When the kid fell, the unnamed member saw a card fall. He picked it up and saw that it was his comrade, a Shuo of Redstone Patrol's IID. The person in the photo was older, but their features were similar. It led Rui to think they were brothers. The kid was in bad shape, so she ordered to take him back for treatment and investigation. The infection of the kid was still in early stages, so Hao thought that if he drew out the crimson fog energy from his body, he could still be saved. They eventually arrived at Lake City Special Operations Team Crimson Blood Encampment. A soldier saw that they're back, so one of them immediately headed to the young Master Jiang to report. Upon arrival, Rui instructed Yongji to take Ying to the medical bay immediately. Then Hao and the unnamed member were blocked. They had to abide by the latest quarantine regulations. Hao reasoned that there was no rule like that before, but the soldier insisted since it was an order from their superiors. They were told to cooperate by removing all their clothes for full disinfection and inspection. Rui questioned who gave these so-called orders from superiors. She clarified that she was the commanding officer and told the soldier to make his superior report to her immediately. A man came out and asked who was deliberately refusing to cooperate with the inspection. It was Jin. He told Rui that it was just a misunderstanding. Internally, he was confused on why Hao came back with Rui. She asked him if he was the one who ordered the logistics soldiers to do that. He reasoned that he's in charge of quarantine safety for new recruits, and since she and Ying were veterans of the Special Operations Team, they wouldn't have to undergo the inspection. But he advised Hao to cooperate. Rui yelled that it wasn't necessary. She was furious and asked who he thought he was. She reminded him that he doesn't call the shots. She told them to ignore him, and they walked past him. He yelled at them to wait. Then he pointed to the child and asked if they were going to bring that filthy little thing into the encampment. The unnamed soldier corrected him, saying that the kid was not a filthy thing, but his comrade's brother. After realizing that he's from the patrol, Jin commented that trash belongs in the dumpsters. He ordered the soldiers to take him. It angered the unnamed soldier, but Jin intimidated him by asking if he's planning to defy military orders. Rui was about to say something, but Hao stopped her. He activated some poison through his poison gland and told her to let him. He placed a hand on Jin's shoulder and told him to stop it. Jin thought he wanted to defy him, but he panicked when he felt the poison in his body. He had no idea when it happened. Hao whispered to him to say that he knew he didn't like him, but his methods were just too underhanded, so he advised him to stop while he still could. Then he pointed out how, with just a few words, Jin already fell on his knees. Our MC then told the soldiers to take back their new team leader since he looked tired. They assisted Jin, who was furious with Hao but couldn't move his body. Rui asked what he had done. Hao simply replied that there's nothing to worry since he just made him lay in bed for a couple of days. A few moments later, they went to the medical laboratory. Ying informed Ancheng and Lian that her combat suit was deliberately smeared with a slow-acting corrosive agent. After exposure to high concentration of crimson fog, its protective function failed. Lian concluded that there's a traitor who didn't want Ying to come back alive. Lian knew that Hao was one of the targets too. Hao expressed that he believed that he was the primary target. Ying was just dragged into it because of him. This led Lian to decide that both of them were suspended from field missions until it was all cleared up. Anqing told him that they had bugs to clean out at the headquarters. He hoped that he would send someone trustworthy to protect his daughter and Hao. He reminded him that if anything else goes wrong, neither of them would be able to bear the consequences. Leon was well aware of that. He assigned Rui to ensure the absolute safety of those two. A few days later, Hao pondered on the events that happened, such as suspension of field missions, a traitor in the army, Jin from the city defense, a Shuo from the patrol. Suddenly, the unnamed member called out to him. He asked what was wrong. The unnamed man whispered to Hao that when he was examining the boy, he found a photograph of a girl that looks like Hao's sister. Hao grabbed the man's arm while asking if he's telling the truth. The unnamed man whined that his wrist was going to break. They went to the boy's room. The unnamed member asked the doctor about the kid's condition. The boy's condition was stable, but he would need further observation. The infection was very severe when he first arrived, so the doctor was puzzled on how he suddenly got better those past few days. Hao approached the kid, which made the doctor question what he's doing. Hao requested the doctor to step aside for the Crimson Blood investigation. The doctor was worried. He understood that the kid was a bandit, but the way that the kid's infection symptoms had subsided was highly unusual. He hoped Hao wouldn't do something. Hao was well aware of this because, after all, he was the one who cleansed the Crimson Fog infection from the body. He saw the photo, and Shui was there. The boy woke up and raised his tone when he asked what Hao was doing. Hao asked where he saw the girl. The boy revealed that it was 6 months ago at the refugee settlement. Then he asked where she was now, but the kid doesn't know. He got frantic as he screamed that they were all gone, including his brother, who promised that he'd be right back if he just waited there. Hao remembered the same scene with her sister, and his promise to come back for her. The unnamed man informed Yan that a Shuo was sent to evacuate refugees back then, but got transferred to another mission during the evacuation. And then he went missing. Hao was puzzled on why he was assigned on another mission in the middle of that one. The unnamed man had no idea, so he suggested looking more into the mission files for the specifics. Hao absorbed the Crimson Fog from the kid. The unnamed man was confused about what he's doing. He told him not to tell anyone else about it. The unnamed man now knew why the infection suddenly cleared up. Hao told the kid that he would help him find his brother, but he had to tell him everything he knew about the girl in the photo. The kid wanted assurance that he'll really do that. Hao encouraged him to trust, because doing so was beneficial for both of them. The boy started to narrate what happened 6 months ago. After that, at the barracks cafeteria, the unnamed man asked Hao if he's really going back. Hao was certain of that since Shuo had already been on a mission for half a year. He could no longer wait. The unnamed man brought up Rui. She told him that there was a mole in the army that was trying to harm Hao, so he was ordered to stick with him and report any intel back to her. Hao was firm when he informed him that he came there for Jui, and no one could stop him. Suddenly, Rui showed up behind him and asked who was trying to stop him. She was with Ying. The unnamed man asked Ying if her leg had healed. She replied that Crimson Blood has amazing top-tier medical care. Rui suggested that they move somewhere else to discuss. They transferred to a small conference room. Hao asked them how they all knew. Ying showed him the surveillance camera at the kid's room. The unnamed man was horrified when he learned that Ying was spying on them the whole time. She commented that he phrased it harshly, when she was just trying to protect everyone. There were some internal issues, so it's not impossible that someone could suddenly get kidnapped. Rui admitted that she was the one who had Ying pull up the surveillance footage, and the doctor came to her and explained the situation after he left them. She told Hao that she's not going to stop him. She promised him before that she would help him, so she hoped that he would trust her too. He was touched. Ying added that he should have more faith in her too. She also showcased her own special methods of investigation, and the unnamed man passionately expressed to Hao that he'll always support him. Rui asked him what his plans were. She requested him to explain his plans in detail. He agreed to it. Meanwhile, at the ruins on the outskirts of Redstone City. Before entering a dilapidated building, she was asked for the password. He replied, "Everywhere," and was allowed to come in. He informed the man on the couch that he had urgent business with Chief Hong. The man replied that Chief Hong had no time to see him. She replied that Hao was on his way to Redstone City from Lake City. The man replied that Chief Hong already had intel on Hao. Because of that, she was positive that Hao would meet his end. A few days later at the Redstone City outskirts checkpoint, the city guard had to inspect all entering vehicles. It was chaotic. Rui complained that the line was a total mess. She never saw them so active in defending the city before. Hao was impressed with her nice car. He didn't know that she had that kind of hobby. Since they weren't going there for official business, they can't use the military vehicle, so using her car was more discreet. The unnamed man asked if it was okay to leave Ying at the headquarters by herself. Rui had Yongji keep an eye on her, so she's confident that there wouldn't be any problems. Hao added that Ying had her own way of helping him investigate. She had to stay behind because that thing could only be accessed from the headquarters. Also, Ying could provide remote support through military comms. The window of their car was knocked for the security check. Suddenly, a guard informed everyone that there's an approaching beast 1 kilometer away. It was a pack of iron spine wolves. The defense soldiers fell back as fast as they could. Rui got furious that those men just left them all stuck there. Hao got out of the car and gestured that he'll take care of the monsters. The people ran as fast as they could as the iron wolves approached. One person was about to get bitten. Luckily, Hao clawed at those aberrations. He told the others that if they want to live, they should run. Then he faced the Scout-class iron spine wolves. The scene was so familiar to him. It was the same during his first encounter with them, and that time, he lost his sister. But now he refused to let that happen again. The defense soldiers saw him and couldn't believe that he took out the whole pack of aberrations in an instant. They quickly sent someone to notify Shai that the person had arrived in Redstone City. Those wolves were a piece of cake to Hao. The unnamed man was impressed with him. Rui promised him that she'll handle the rest. She called the defense soldier. She introduced herself and showed them her badge, then she ordered them to stop the inspections immediately and let the people into the city. They obeyed her. As they drove into the city, they couldn't shake off the feeling that the security check had another reason for it. Rui asked Hao what he thought that was. He replied that it seemed like they were looking for someone. But he didn't dwell on it, since their top priority was to investigate Ashuo's mission file. They reached the Redstone City Defense Headquarters, and went specifically to the archives room where all the patrol team's mission files were. But Hao couldn't find Ashuo's file. Rui searched on the computer. The unnamed man realized that the 7th Squad's A, Shou Liming, Wang Qiang, all were gone. Even the basic roster had been redacted. And Rui found out that the local database had been wiped out too. There were no records of Ashuo in it. It could have been a dead end from the start. Hao asked if there were any other options. She called Ying to ask if she could find it. Then she informed them that Ying had a way to access the database files, but she needed time. The unnamed man was surprised that she was that skilled. Hao wasn't, though, because Ying calls herself Miss Know-It-All. Then the unnamed man remembered that Captain Jia was a veteran of the former government army. He trained Ashuo when the patrol team was first formed. He was hopeful that he knew about that mission. They decided to see him, at Captain Jia's house. It was such a mess that they could tell it was a sign of struggle. The marks were fresh, so they assumed that the fight had just ended recently. Hao determined that it was the city defense team. Rui wondered why the city defense team would go after Jun. The unnamed man shared that Hao stood up for the captain before and beat up the city defense captain, Shi, to a pulp, so he deduced that this was revenge. And Hao had this feeling that it was all aimed at him. The inspection was to confirm whether he had entered the city. It got him riled up to face them head-on. A few moments later, some soldiers arrived. They were glad to have finally found Rui. She asked them who they were. One of them was the Redstone City Defense Adjutant, Li Ben. He received word that she came, then informed her that Jia Jun of the patrol team under his command went missing while on a mission outside the city, so he would like to seek her assistance in the search and rescue. It was their army's business, so she couldn't see why she had to help them. He reasoned that the aberrations had been unusually active, so their regular forces were no match for them. Rui and Hao glanced at each other. They understood each other without saying a word. She agreed to help, but on the condition that Ben was coming with them. Ben argues that it's not a good idea since he would just get in their way. She asked if he's refusing, then she clarified that she's not asking. Instead, she's ordering him. Then she warned him that if he refused, he could have him executed on the spot for insubordination. They got him inside the vehicle. They drove on the outskirts of the city. Then they probed Ben why they would send Jun on a mission when they knew that the aberrations were unusually active lately. Hao suggested that they sent him there to die on purpose. Ben denied it. They reached the area that he told them. Hao could tell something was not right. Rui asked what was wrong. He replied that Ben told them the area was teeming with aberrations, and yet he didn't smell any crimson fog. Meanwhile, Ben was in a rush to get out of there quickly. The unnamed member saw him fiddling on his phone. He asked what he's doing. Ben argues that he had brought them all to the location of the incident, so his job should be done, so he had his squad pick him up. Then he told the unnamed member to tell Rui that he leaves the search and rescue on her hands. And then he walked away. But Rui blocked his path and told him that he's not going anywhere. Hao placed a hand on his shoulder. Then she probed him on what their objective was. Suddenly, lightning and thunder roared. Ben feared for what's coming. It was as if he already knew it. The lightning struck the ground. Ben was deeply terrified. He expressed how he didn't want to die. It was as How expected. The low-level aberrations weren't around because of that thing. It was a Dominator-class Thunder Beast, and this monster roar could even summon lightning around it. The Dominator Thunder Beast stood there in front of them. The unnamed Special Response Unit service member was terrified. He wondered why it suddenly appeared there. With the unusual aberration activity and the Border Patrol going missing on a mission, How could tell none of this was a coincidence. Ben tried to run away. Rui ordered the unnamed personnel to catch him and not let him escape. So the unnamed personnel chased after Ben, who refused to die a meaningless death there. They saw the Thunder Beast charging up its breath attack, and then it unleashed it. They got out of the way. But the attack was so powerful that it messed up the area. How knew that getting away won't be easy. Rui told him to hold it off while she goes to get her weapon. Someone watched them from the roof. It was Sure. He acted cocky as he looked down on How. His subordinate asked if the small device could really control a Dominator-class aberration. He replied that the technology of the people behind them was beyond their imagination. Those ancient people even built an aberration-taming facility. He saw it with his own eyes. They were raising special aberrations, and as long as they capture How and hand him over to them, he would rule over Chishi City. Meanwhile, How observed the beast. It was an elemental-type aberration and mainly fights with energy. He expected the poison gland plundered from the queen bee to work on a Dominator-class aberration too. But he had to stop approaching it because it released thunder from its body. He steadied himself. And to his surprise, his beast form was forcibly dispelled. He realized that its ability was the same as Rui's electromagnetic annihilation shells. The beast had gathered energy in its foot and was about to hit him with it. He had to jump away to evade it. And he landed quite a distance from it. He realized that he couldn't let his guard down. He had confirmed that it was different from a normal Dominator-class aberration. With lightning surrounding it, there was no way to get close. Rui asked if they just had to get rid of that lightning armor. He asked if she could do it. She confidently replied yes, since her Beast Core's ability came from a Thunder Beast. A Thunder Beast's lightning could annihilate surrounding particles and nullify other abilities. If she fired an annihilation shell with all her strength, she could cancel out the Thunder Beast's lightning armor. But only for a very short time. It would recover quickly. How charged ahead while telling her that a single moment is all he needed. He approached the beast as it released thunder from its body. He gave her the cue, and she fired the electromagnetic annihilation shell. The lightning armor was gone. How used the chance to attack it with his beast form claws and venom. Then he glanced at it to see how it liked the queen bee's potent venom. It worked. The poison slowed its movements. Its attack became too slow. He continuously hit it with his claws. He noticed that its attack power was stronger than any Dominator class he had fought before, but without its lightning, its physical strength was far inferior. But he also knew that without Rui's annihilation shell, he wouldn't even have a chance to get close. That pushed him to be stronger. He saw it retreating. How suggested that since it was there, it should leave something behind. Shi's subordinate panicked when they saw that the aberration was about to lose. Rui noticed that How had grown a lot recently, and it inspired her to get stronger too. Shi was still cocky because he brought another thing aside from the Dominator class. Rui was surprised when she saw sharp teeth behind her. She didn't expect there to be another one. How was overwhelmed when he saw that there's another one. It was about to eat Rui. Immediately, How rushed to her and pushed her away from it. She fell on her butt. Then she saw How get eaten in her place. She called his name. But she noticed that the monster trembled. It struggled to close its mouth. Because How pushed it open, he refused to be devoured. Eventually, he was able to push himself out of the mouth. Seeing the enemy prepared 2 Dominator classes, he couldn't help but comment that they think highly of them. This second beast was a Stealth Beast Dominator class. Rui rushed to his side and asked if he's okay. He replied that he's fine. He didn't expect there to be an invisible aberration. Rui explained that it was a specialized aberration. It enhances its own stealth, then launches an ambush on its target, and it's generally hard to deal with without support members who have super sense. Suddenly, the Thunder Beast released a beam towards them. How was surprised that the Lightning Beast had already recovered. Then the Stealthy Beast went behind them. He knew their situation was bad. He got hit from behind, and that threw him on the ground. Rui got worried for him. She counterattacked and unleashed an electromagnetic blast bomb. It electrocuted the Stealthy Beast, and then it disappeared again. That beast's stealth was extremely high. Even with his perception, he could barely track it. Rui informed him that she hit it with her electromagnetic grenade so she could sense its movements through the magnetic field. Hao asked for its position, as he planned to finish it in one strike. She told him that it was behind him and asked if he's confident. He replied yes with certainty. Then she informed him that it was coming from behind him. He stepped on its mouth and pushed it down while his hands helped to keep the mouth open, and then he pointed his hand on the inside of its mouth and fed it with his attack, and that blasted its head away, one beast down. So for the remaining one, he asked if Rui could use that move again. She wasn't wearing her aberration armaments, so she doesn't have enough energy to spare for that move. But she knew another way to break through its lightning armor. He asked what it was. She coated him with her remaining energy, creating an ionized layer. It's very short, it would only last for about 10 seconds. But the ionized layer could only withstand one attack from the Thunder Beast. That was enough for him. He valued that single chance. The beast spread its thunder on the ground. He jumps to avoid being electrocuted. He can't afford to get hit before he gets close. He focused all his power into his right hand. He used a beast form lightning claws and made a hole on the Thunder Beast's stomach. Shi's jaw dropped when 2 of the Dominator class beasts were defeated. Even 2 B ranks might not have been able to beat them, and yet mere C ranks were able to. He commanded Team 2 to fire the anti-tank missiles and stall them. They cannot let them leave the area. He set off to get people from Greenvine. Meanwhile, Hao walked away from the beast thinking it was over. Hao picked up the beast core with the lightning from the Thunder Beast, and the other dark glowing beast core from the stealthy beast. Rui put in a lot of effort this time, so he planned to give her half of the spoils. He was about to tell her something, but he was surprised to see her down on the ground. At the same time, the unnamed personnel arrived and reported that he got Ben. Ben was screaming that he doesn't want to die while the unnamed personnel dragged him. He saw Rui lying on the ground and immediately asked Hao how she was. Hao explained that she overused her powers and exhausted her body. Thankfully, it was just physical exhaustion. There were no signs of crimson fog corrosion. Little did they know that on a rooftop nearby, Shi and his men had set up the anti-tank missiles. One of them reported that Ben was there, but Shi just told them to ignore him, since it was his fault for courting death by coming there when he was only told to lure them there. Hao and the unnamed personnel were surprised when they were attacked by the standard-issue military weapons. Ben couldn't believe that Shi abandoned him. He decided to go all out instead. He revealed that it was all Zhang Shi's idea. He said if they capture Hao, they would get promoted and strike it rich. He also shared that Shi was hiding nearby, and he was the one who instructed him to lead them there. Meanwhile, Shi was annoyed that not a single shot hit. His men explained that the Thunder Beast's recent attacks were full of lightning strikes, and it messed up the surrounding electromagnetic field so they couldn't aim precisely. The unnamed personnel noticed that the attacks had stopped. Hao ordered him to take Rui back and contact Ying to tell her that Shi of Chishi City Guard has mutinied and attacked Rui. He also wants him to take that adjutant back and interrogate him thoroughly. He also wants him to tell Ying that the Chief of General Staff, Lian, must be informed about this. The unnamed personnel drove the car and called out to him to get inside the car. He got annoyed and asked him if he was stupid. If they were all in the car, they would be sitting ducks, so he planned to cover him as he pulled away. The unnamed personnel didn't like that, but then he saw him kicking the missile away. He had no choice but to leave and promised to support him as soon as he got Rui back to safety. Shi's men reported to him that all their shells were intercepted by Hao, and they saw him approaching them. She ordered his men to stop him. He was expecting the people from Greenvine to be there any second now, but before those men could move, Hao already dashed away. He took those guys down with his swift movements. Shi questioned how he was so strong. He couldn't believe that he still had strength after taking down 2 Dominator-class beasts. Hao kicked him on the legs, and then shoved him down on the ground using his beast claws. Hao tightened his grip on Shi's neck while greeting him that it has been a while. Shi tried to explain that he was just forced into doing those things. Hao told him that he provoked someone he shouldn't have. Unexpectedly, someone punched Hao. It pushed him back. Shi was relieved to see Lu Feng, a B-class soldier from the Greenvine group. He thanked him for saving him. Feng questioned if rats talk so big nowadays. Hao asked who he was, but the man replied that it wasn't for him to know. He was surprised when Feng disappeared. Fortunately, he was able to block the attack using his forearms. They continuously attacked each other using their bare fists. But Hao had an opening, and he was hit right at the torso. He crashed on the ground. Then it was followed by an explosion. Feng uttered that the higher-ups took Hao seriously, so he thought he was some kind of badass, but Turns out he was just a sewer rat. He couldn't believe that Shi still managed to lose to that trash, even after receiving 2 Dominator class. Shi could only apologize. Feng left the rest to him and headed back. She assured him that he won't be disappointed this time. He kicked Hao in the face, while uttering that even after all that trouble, Hao still ended up like a dead dog. He called someone to make a video call with Jia Jun. The guards woke up Jun because the boss wants to see him. Shi showed Hao to Jun. Jun recognized Hao and started cussing at Shi. He challenged him to come at him if he had a problem with him. Shi answered that he would make sure that the son of a bitch Hao would die a miserable death. Then Shur ordered Squad 2 to assemble and take Hao back to the taming base. All this time Hao was listening to them, and because of that call he found Jun. But first, he absorbed the red-grade beast core. Then he was transported 300 meters below the ground, at the Chishi City Greenvine base. His arms and legs were chained and a green light shone on him. The system notified him that the Dominator-class Stealth Beast Core had been absorbed. He now has a skill called Shadow Stealth. With this, he could enter a stealth state for 3 minutes. Movement speed was increased in stealth. The first attack after stealth ends in a guaranteed critical hit. Hao cracked the capsule that he was in. When the glass shattered, the green liquid flowed out. Based on the route, he could tell that the place wasn't far from the ruins. He didn't expect that such a place was hidden outside the city. Meanwhile, the researchers panicked since subject 0907 had escaped. They notified the security personnel immediately. Subject A1-09-07, Hao, faced the camera and destroyed it, so they lost the monitoring signal. The security personnel were all armed. The higher-ups wanted to capture it alive, so they prepared a high-dosage tranquilizer darts and the special aberration captured net. Suddenly, the door opened. But to their surprise, there was no sign of the subject. It confused them. The commander ordered them to find the subject at once, but little did he know that Hao already walked past them using the shadow stealth. They all went inside the room. They worked so hard to catch that subject, so if it can't find it, they would all be screwed. Hao noticed that his skill worked like a charm, but he could only maintain that form for 10 minutes. He moved to find Jun really fast. Meanwhile, Jun's guards were curious on what the commotion outside was all about. But it had nothing to do with them, since they were just responsible for catching them, and if those men couldn't guard them properly, it was their problem already. In a blink of an eye, those 2 guards fell and their mouth frothed. Then Hao showed himself to Jun. Jun was glad to see him. He knew Hao wouldn't go down that easily. Hao replied that it was all thanks to his training. Hao revealed that he was looking for him because of Ashuo's disappearance, but he never thought he'd be dragged into that. Jun replied that he had been looking for Ashuo too. Hao asked if he found any clues. Any lead would help. He answered that things were more complicated than he imagined. Right after the patrol team was formed, the city guard transferred away a lot of the guys in the name of various special missions, but they never heard from them again. The higher-ups insisted that they were missing in action from their missions. But he wanted to investigate further, but Shur has been obstructing and pressuring him behind the scenes. Hao realized that the whole thing was deeper than he thought. He knew that the city guard wouldn't be able to pull this off on their own, so someone must be behind them. If he could just get a hold of Shai, he's certain that everything would come to light. The guards found him. Jun protected him and told him to get out of there. He doesn't want to drag him any deeper into it. The commander of the guards ordered to kill the patrol captain and capture the subject alive. Hao jumped real high and took them all down. He replied that if he ran away, getting himself captured would have been all for nothing. He asked Jun if he could still move. The captain stood straight and grinned while asking him, "Who do you take me for?" He replied that he's Jia, the Undying. Meanwhile, Shur ordered to release all the beasts otherwise. None of them would be able to stop him. But those men argued that he doesn't have the authority to order them around. She couldn't understand them, so he pointed out that their commander wasn't there, so they should listen to him. He told them that if Hao gets past them, they're all finished. Meanwhile, Hao stopped on his tracks. Jun asked what was wrong. Several aberrations approached him. He instructed Jun to find a place to hide for a bit. Jun told him to be careful. He noticed that they were raising aberrations. In his opinion, that's a crime against humanity. He could also tell that the 2 Dominator classes that were released from before were released from there. He used his beast form claws. Then he attacked those beasts. Those weren't enough to stop him. The men and researchers were running away through their getaway car. Shur told them that if he hadn't done that, then they wouldn't have the time to destroy the data. And deep inside, he thought that with so many aberrations, it should be more than enough to keep Hao busy. But suddenly, he was struck with a stone on his back. It was debris from when Hao blew up the wall, and then he saw the cars drive away, leaving him behind. They told him that he had outlived his usefulness, and they simply wished him to rest in peace. Then they bombed the pathway. Shi realized that he was used as a disposable pawn. Shi warned Hao not to come any closer since June was still in his hands. Hao grabbed his neck and interrogated him on who was pulling the strings, and what kind of place was that. Shi asked if he doesn't care if Jun dies. Hao showed him the person behind the wall. He was surprised that it was Jun. He asked how he was able to escape. Hao tightened his grip, and that made Shai want to talk. He revealed that a man named Mr. Hong ordered him to do it. He insisted that he doesn't know the details about him, just that he said that if he handed him over, he would get riches and glory behind his wildest dreams. And the place was one of their branch bases. They mainly raise aberrations and handle handover missions there. Hao realized that he had been secretly monitoring his movements all this time. He even knew that he's going to look into the patrol team's files, so he tampered with them beforehand. Shi denied his involvement on that and suggested that it must have been a coincidence. But he revealed that he knew where they sent the missing members of the patrol team, and that Mr. Hong might be there too. He begged him to spare his life, and he would lead them there. He opened a tunnel underground, although those bastards blew up the main passage, causing that area to collapse below. There was a hidden path that they could use. While walking through the tunnel, Hao wondered how it was formed. There was a strange smell lingering in the air too. Meanwhile, Shi was finding a chance to shake them, and if that doesn't work, he'll lead them to the Greenvine expert and have them kill them for him. Hao felt some oppressive feeling, and it was coming from underground. He knew something was there. At the Greenvine Crimson Fog storage base outside Chishi City. Rui was standing in front of the shards when Ying reported that all she found on her end was a pile of aberration corpses and nothing else. She asked if Rui had gotten anything from her analysis, but the clues were so fragmented that she couldn't piece together a complete picture. Ying questioned her on how she managed to lose Hao while investigating a file. The unnamed personnel explained that earlier, a conflict arose between Shi of the City Defense Force and Captain Jia, but he never thought that Shi would actually dare to harm the Special Operations team. Ying had already reported the incident to Leon, and he was very angry. Youngji asked what they should do about Ben. Rui still had to get information out of him, so Youngji pushed Ben in front of Rui. Rui told Ben that the hideout he revealed was empty. She inquired if he had any other important information about the mastermind he mentioned earlier. Ben insists that that's what he only knew because Sha didn't let him get involved too much. Ying revealed to Ben that she already uncovered some secrets about Greenvine and him, so if he confesses now, it would count as surrender. Otherwise, he'd have a hole in his head. Ben had to think again, and then he remembered that Shai frequently sneaks into the Crimson Fog storage system under the Greenvine group. Ying got intrigued about it. Ben informed them that something was definitely wrong in there. Rui commanded them to move out so they could go directly and see what was wrong over there. Yangji told her to wait because General Song Lian had already ordered his brother to lead the main army at the Chishi City to suppress rebellion. It would probably take some time, so he suggests that they wait until they arrive before they act. She told them that their primary objective wasn't to suppress the rebellion, but to ensure Hao's safety. She commanded the patrol personnel to escort Ben back to Chishi City to meet with Yongxin, and the rest of them would follow her to investigate. At the Crimson Fog storage system. Rui was stopped by the guards because it was a restricted area and without authorization. Not even the members of the Crimson Blood Special Operations team could enter. Rui simply smacked them while telling them to get lost. They entered the room while the guards quickly reported to Feng. When they reported, Feng had already seen the members of the Crimson Blood. Rui warned her team to be careful because the place might be an important stronghold for them. Ying sensed something move. Before she knew it, she was already attacked. She moved quickly to create distance between them. Feng acknowledged that she was quick on her feet. Rui assumed a combat stance and demanded to know who he was, but he refused to answer and charged at them instead. Yongji rushed to Ying and blocked the incoming danger using his armament hardening. Feng hit him, and he was pushed backward, causing him to accidentally hit Ying too. Rui got annoyed and attacked Feng. Yongji warned her to watch out since the guy was at least B-class. Feng ducked, and then he punched her in the gut. Rui felt immense pain. Before she could stand up, he kicked her, and that threw her on the wall. Ying and Yangji got worried for her, especially that she's not good at close combat. Without aberration armaments or firearms, she won't be able to perform at her best. Feng was disappointed at their performance. He commented that they were even worse than that rat from yesterday. Rui replied that Feng wasn't that strong either. She doesn't believe that Hao would be defeated by someone like him. He threw her in the air for still talking tough even when defeated. He was determined to hit her and see who could take more, if it was her or the rat. Unexpectedly, before he could land another punch, he was hit on the face. It was Hao. He hit the wall with a powerful impact, and then Hao caught Rui. Ying saw him carrying her like a princess and whined that she wanted one too. They landed safely on the ground. Hao asked Rui if she's all right. She was surprised to see him. Rui asked Hao if he's okay. Hao smiled, and instead of answering, he asked if she's okay. Ying called them out for hugging too long when they still had a big problem to deal with. Feng asked what exactly was going on. He asked Hao why he's there. Hao replied that Feng's old friend brought him there. Jun pointed a gun at Shi and yelled at him to get out. Feng was surprised that he was betrayed by him. Shi justified that he was just forced into it. Feng didn't hesitate to attack him. There was no other path for Shi except for death. Hao blocked his fist because Shi can't die yet. He reported to Rui that Shi had many secrets. She was aware of it. Feng was frustrated that a mere sewer rat believed that it could stop him. He used a sound sonic fist, but Hao calmly deflected his attacks and told him that he was too slow. He was blasted away from Hao's kick. Hao was getting under his skin, so he got more determined to kill him. He unleashed sonic wind blades. It cut through the second floor. Yongji was surprised to see his ability. Ying realized that he was a wind user like her. Rui asked Shi on who exactly that man was, but she wasn't sure. What he only knew was that he works for Mr. Hong. Feng unleashed several sonic wind blades all at once, but that was nothing to Hao, who swiftly evaded those attacks. Then he commented that B rank wasn't so impressive. His fist landed on his face. Feng realized that Hao deliberately lost to him before. He was blasted away. He crashed on a wall and made a huge dent on it. He's getting angrier. The crimson fog had leaked, so Shi told them to run, since he doesn't want to die. Rui ordered Yongji to take them back, but they were worried for her. She told them that she had to watch over Hao, but Yongji doesn't think that it was a good idea. She insists that he only had to execute her orders, but Ying told her that she has a way. Feng told Hao that it wasn't enough to defeat him, then he took out a vial and drank it. Though that would drain his life force, the treasure was enough to maintain his sanity for a short time. What he did was to absorb the power of the crimson fog. He unleashed a powerful energy from his body, and he challenged the ant to come at him. In a split second, he was able to close the gap with Hao, and an explosion followed. Hao was caught off guard with the increase in his speed. Feng asked him if he could feel the beautiful A-rank speed, and also power. He landed a punch in Hao's stomach, and the impact was so powerful. Feng questioned him on how long he can stand against it. He deemed that it was time to end, but he got confused. When he saw the wind, apparently Ying made a wind array wall, and followed it up with a storm's blessing. Hao's body felt lighter. Ying proudly shared that it was her specialty. Feng unleashed a powerful attack in an attempt to end them all. It was a crimson fog blast. Hao wondered if that was his absolute power. Seeing that nothing happened with his attack, Feng got confused if what he saw earlier was an illusion, or if Hao absorbed his attack. While he was thinking, Hao had closed the gap and punched him. Hao punched him non-stop, and told him that he doesn't even need the crimson fog just to deal with him. Feng could no longer defend himself, and just wondered what kind of monster he was. Hao had injured him badly, and asked him where Mr. Hong was. Some men in black suits watched Feng lose through the screen. A red, long-haired man was amused that Feng lost. It makes him more interested in Hao. This person was Mr. Hong, the Greenvine Group Chishi City person in charge. He realized that they had to raise their surveillance level on Hao. His subordinates asked what they should do now. He instructed them to destroy the remaining data and evacuate with him. He let the thing in the basement clean the place up. There was a red crystal stone in a machine, and an aberration who had been hungry for a long time. Concurrently, Hao asked Feng on where Mr. Hong was, but Feng was unconscious. Ying inspected the body and told Hao that Feng could no longer answer because he had hit him so hard. He admitted that he didn't even hit him that hard in the end. Hao asked Shi if he had sent everyone from the patrol squad in there. He replied yes and volunteered to take him down there. Shi led the way. And then he told them that opening the door requires a password and he doesn't really know it. Hao replied that they don't have to know it. He kicked the door open. Then he asked if everyone was there, but Shi didn't know. He was only responsible for bringing them there, and he doesn't know anything else regarding the rest. Hao was startled. Rui noticed his reaction and asked what was wrong. He pointed at the right side. He sensed a human presence behind the door. They couldn't force it open since they might hurt the people inside. Ying told them to leave it to her. He asked if she could open it. She set up her laptop and replied that she's an expert. She started typing on her laptop, and then eventually she got it. The door opened, and it revealed capsules with humans inside. Their jaws dropped when they saw it. Yongji didn't expect there to be so many captured people. Rui got angry. She grabbed Char by the collar and asked what the hell they were doing. She insists that he doesn't know because he only brought the people there and he had no idea about anything else. Jun saw Aishuo in one of the capsules. Hao immediately got to work to get him out, but Ying stopped him. He asked her what she was doing, and she asked him back the same question. She explained that those were life support devices, and if he breaks them, there might not be a way to save them. Rescuing them requires specialized equipment, so she suggested that they report to the tech bureau first. Suddenly, Rui had received a call from her subordinate. Apparently, Youngshin had arrived in Redstone City. She told them to bring them to the Crimson Fog storage base immediately. After the call, she received a report from Yongji about the strange device in the room. She asked what it was. When Shir saw it, he was so terrified that his knees weakened. Ying noticed that the fluctuation was strange. It seems to be releasing energy outwards, and inside was a highly concentrated crimson fog. Suddenly, they felt an earthquake. But Hao sensed that something was coming, so he informed them to move quickly. Ying was being targeted, but Hao was able to make it in time to deflect the attack with a kick. Yongji saw that Feng had entered a beast form. Rui realized that it was a side effect of forcibly inhaling the crimson fog. He had mutated into monstrosity. She was surprised when she saw that his appearance was similar to her uncle. Hao informed them that the device was a bait, and its purpose was to attract the aberrations. He was worried that something more dangerous than Feng would come, so he brought it to lure it away, otherwise it would tear the place apart. Rui ran after him. Yongji got worried, but she ordered him to guard the place. Hao could sense that it was coming close. They needed to put as much distance between them as possible. Mr. Hong was intrigued on how many more surprises Hao has. If he could survive that, then he would be worthy of their in-depth research. Hao threw the bait as high and as far as he could. Feng ran after it, and as soon as he did, a large aberration emerged from the ground, and it opened its wide mouth and ate Feng along with the bait. Rui asked what was that. The military cars were close. Youngshin asked why Rui wanted them to go to the Crimson Fog storage base. He asked what happened. The driver had no idea either. It was just that she said there was a research lab beneath the base. They were all surprised when they saw the towering aberration nearby. Youngshin doubted if that was something Rui and the others could handle. He kicked the door of the vehicle open, and he jumped out. At that time, he was the only one equipped with the aberration armaments, so he's the only one who could stand it. The driver stopped the military car, but he ordered him to take the reinforcements to the research lab first. The driver followed his order and led the others to the place while Youngshin hurried towards the aberration. He had no idea what exactly happened there. Meanwhile, Rui and Hao stood in front of this behemoth-class earthworm. Hao couldn't believe that they managed to attract something like that. The earthworm noticed them, and it could also see their energy. Hao looked like he was blazing with it. This triggered the aberration, and it attempted to eat him. He used his beast form claws and tried to claw at it. He swings his hand on different parts of its body, but the result wasn't good. His attacks couldn't even breach its skin. Rui knew that it's something that they couldn't handle, so she suggested that they retreat for now. Hao was aware that it was interested in him, and that was why it was attacking them. He knew that if he leaves, the Crimson Fog storage base would be its next target. He planned to try his best to hold it off while Rui got the people out of the underground research lab. Rui asked him if he plans to take it on alone. She couldn't allow that, but Hao was determined not to let the beast take the lead that they worked so hard to get. She called him out when he charged ahead. Meanwhile, Ying worked on a capsule and found that aside from the basic vital monitoring, all data had been destroyed. She could tell that it was the work of a professional. The unnamed personnel arrived and reported to Yongji that he had brought reinforcements. He was surprised when he saw Jun. He asked if he was all right. Jun replied that he was fine, and it was Hao who saved him. That made the guy search for Hao. Tangya introduced himself to Yongji. He was acting on headquarters orders and informed him that Youngshin had been appointed as commander-in-chief. He was the adjutant to support Rui in suppressing the rebellion. They had to understand the current situation, so they looked for Rui. Yongji replied that Rui ordered them to guard the facility. He asked where his brother was. Meanwhile, Hao used shadow stealth. His energy was at 170 out of 200. He continuously hit the earthy worm. It tried to catch him, but he was fast. Then he targeted its eyes. He buried his hands deep in its eyes and used poison glands. Its long tongue grabbed him and pulled him away, and then it was about to drop him on its mouth. Rui wouldn't let that happen, so she activated a mini version of Railgun. It cut the earthy worm's tongue, and Hao was able to break free. Without the Beast Core combat suit and the Beast Core weapons, using abilities was too much of a strain. She knew Hao was the only person in the world who could unleash abilities empty-handed. Hao rushed to Rui, when suddenly, a part of the beast's body bursts into flames. It was done by Yongxin. He asked them if they're okay. Rui replied that the aberration was a behemoth class. He told them to leave it to him. Yongxin was an A rank with fire basic ability. He engulfed the aberration with flames. Seeing the power of an A rank for the first time, Hao couldn't help but notice how strong it was. The fire slowly extinguishes, and the earthworm came out fine. Yongxin realized that it won't be easy. The earthworm faced them. Yongxin challenged it to attack again. It breathes black smoke towards their direction, and the whole area became zero visibility. Yongxin told them to be careful now that vision was blocked. Hao sensed something. He informed them that it went underground. They dodged quickly. Then it emerged again. Yongxin checked if everyone was okay. He knew they had to clear the sandstorm first. Suddenly, a wind pressure bullet cleared the area. Ying did that. She asked if everyone was okay. Rui asked why they were there. She was worried about the underground base. Yongji assured her that the base had been taken over by the reinforcements brought by his brother. The experiment subjects were being transferred already. Yongxin expressed that it was great news since the aberration was hard to deal with. He instructed them to distract it together and look for an opportunity. But to their surprise, it burrows on the ground to escape. Ying unleashed a storm's blessing while Yongxin released his flames. Their ability had combined and engulfed the earth. It got hurt, but nothing major. Unfortunately, it wasn't dead yet. Yongxin had figured out that it had a regeneration ability. This kind of ability was extremely rare, but everything about an aberration comes from the Beast Core, so once they destroyed that, it wouldn't be able to regenerate. Ying doesn't like the idea that they're going to find a Beast Core on that huge living body. It attacked with a sandstorm again, and she protected them with a barrier, but she can't block for much longer. Rui gathered her energy, and she used electromagnetic induction. Her eyes changed, and it allowed her to see the insides of the aberration. It made her sick, though. But she found the core on the left side of the abdomen. The energy reaction there was so intense. Yongji supported her. Yongxin ordered him to take her away from the battlefield. He couldn't help but comment that she's some worrisome girl. Now that they know its weakness, Yongxin got into position. He blasted a powerful fire on the left side of the abdomen. The skin melted and revealed the core. Ying immediately attacked. Yongxin joined her and told her not to stop attacking. But it wasn't enough. The defense was too strong. Ordinary attacks couldn't shatter the core. Hao knew he must use a powerful attack like a Crimson Fog bullet. But Feng had consumed a lot of Crimson Fog earlier, and now the Crimson Fog in his body can't condense into a Crimson Fog bullet. Unexpectedly, the bait that he threw earlier rolled near his feet. Yongxin's recent attack had brought it out. He crushed the vial and absorbed the concentrated Crimson Fog inside. He could only gamble on this move. He was in immense pain when he absorbed it. As he expected, it was not an ordinary Crimson Fog. Yongxin and Ying were hit when the earthworm attacked, and then it targeted Yongji, who was carrying Rui on his back. It chased them while they ran. Yongji knew they're over, until Hao intervened. He threw a Crimson Supergiant Blast on its core. He wanted the earthworm to take all the hits. He pushed it deeper, and the impact threw this large aberration in the air. The core started to crack. Eventually, it exploded. We then see Hao in a dark place. Suddenly, his sister showed up and called him. She hugged him while asking where he went. He apologized to her and admitted that it was his fault. He asked why she was there. That made her confused, but when he looked around, it was just a vast empty space. He also asked where that place was. Then he saw his hand burning, and the flame eventually engulfed his whole body. He screamed loudly from the pain. Zui tried to grab him, but he told him not to approach him. And then, he woke up. Given that it was the last vision he had, he called out to his sister. It made him wonder if he was just dreaming or something like that truly happened. Then noticed his surroundings and started to wonder where he was. Young-shin was at the couch and informed him that he's in the Special Response Unit headquarters Blazing Blood Medical Research Institute. Hao asked why he's there. He explained that since his situation is special, just in case a problem arises, someone needs to be able to handle it immediately. He told him that he had been asleep for 3 days, and seeing his state earlier, he thought he was a goner. But now he knew there was no need to handle anything. Hao agreed with him. It was scary to think that the instructor might have planned to snap his neck if he can't control his beast instincts. After all, the military can't fully trust a humanoid aberration that suddenly popped out. He knew he had to find Shuei quickly. He asked about the others in the big aberration and the Crimson Fog base. Young-shin told him that, except for Rui, who overused her abilities, everyone was fine. The aberration has been exterminated by Hao, and everyone under the base has been transferred to the research lab. And then Hao remembered Ashuo. He asked how he was. Young-shin asked if that was the person brought from the Greenvine underground base. Before Young-shin could answer, Ying barged in. She inspected his body and even pulled down his shorts while asking if he had symptoms of infection or bodily mutation. She couldn't believe that he absorbed that kind of highly concentrated crimson fog, and he's actually fine. She asked what kind of biological structure he was exactly. He already surpassed the scope of humanity. He shoved her away and told her to stop messing around. Then he demanded to know how Aisha was. They visited Ashuo at the Blazing Blood Medical Research Institute isolation room. Hao was informed that there was a large amount of concentrated crimson fog inside Ashuo's body, although there was no mutation or infection, but his consciousness won't recover that quickly. Hao didn't expect that result. That made Hao so angry at Shi. He wanted to know about the person behind the research. Young-shin informed him that she had already confessed. He asked what Shi said. He had an assumption that it was linked to Greenvine. Rui entered the room and answered that it was all done by Shi. He couldn't understand how that was possible when Shi mentioned about Feng and Mr. Hong, the aberrations under the taming base, and the research lab under the Crimson Fog base. Rui knew all about it, but all the evidence found points to Shi, and he admitted it himself. She could tell that there was an invisible hand manipulating all this from behind. Then she told him to follow her because the Chief of General Staff wants to see him. He asked her how she knew where he was. She replied that Ying notified her. He looked at Ying with a growl on his face. He realized that she didn't change. He worries that he will be monitored by her even when he eats, showers, and sleeps in the future. They arrived in front of the office and Rui knocked. They were told to come in. She reported that she brought the person. Ansheng was already on the couch. He told Leon to come sit already since everyone was there. Ying called out her pops for secretly eating snacks by himself. Leon invited everyone to sit down. He skipped the small talk and directly informed Hao about the matter of him defeating the Behemoth class had already spread, which means not only the military but various factions were eyeing him. He told him that he is now in the eye of the storm. It seemed calm, but strong winds were already raging around it. If he's not careful, he might get sucked in. He asked him if he had any plans regarding that. Originally, Hao had planned to act in secret, but he didn't expect things to get this big. He knew that him being called there solemnly was definitely not just for simple questioning. He responded that he wants to hear the Chief of Staff's opinion. Leon confirmed with him if he knew the matter regarding Shai. He replied yes, but also expressed that Shai was hiding something. Leon informed him that the statement given by the Greenvine group was that they knew nothing about the underground base and the taming base, and internally, there were no senior executives with the surname Hong. After all, Greenvine group has a lot of cooperation with the military. Before obtaining irrefutable evidence, it was inconvenient to investigate them publicly. Ansheng added that the previous mole incident hasn't been cleared up yet, and there were multiple factions in the military checking and balancing each other. Under these circumstances, even if they want to investigate the Greenvine, they can't do it because the higher-ups won't allow it. Hao inquired what they mean by higher-ups. They simply told him that it was the apex of their world, the highest level of the SU government. So, Leon wished to borrow Hao's power. Hao realized that this old fox appeared like he was caring about him, but turns out it was just inconvenient for him to act on his own, so he wants him to be his pawn. Rui pointed out that just as he said, Hao was in the eye of the storm. She asked him why he would still want Hao to do that. Young-shin explained that rather than being hunted like prey, it was better to transform into a hunter and pounce back. To survive, changes must be made. Leon told him that there was no need to answer immediately. He encouraged him to go back and carefully weigh it, and then tell him his decisions. Then, he instructed Young-shin to take care of them during this time. After all, he was their instructor. Later that night, Hao stood on the rooftop while thinking about what Yangshin said, which was, rather than being a prey, it was better to become a hunter. At the Blazing Blood Comprehensive Training Ground, the Chief of Staff organized a 3-month multi-party comprehensive training under the pretext of improving the combat power of new Blazing Blood members. But the training was just a facade. The real purpose was to delay the outbreak of internal disagreements, clear out spies, and unify the military's voice. Hao knew nothing about the military's situation. The most important thing for him at the moment was to get information on Chu as soon as possible. He treated the Chief of Staff's invitation with caution. Before replying to him, he used the multi-party training as a buffer. The Blazing Blood point system unified activation 1 month after recruits enlist. Points can be obtained through missions, training, free duels, and exchange for internal military items. 1 Blazing Blood point is equal to 1,000 Alliance coins. Hao got 210,000 Alliance coins. He assumed that they must have calculated the rewards from the previous 2 incidents into it. The other recruits complained that they had worked themselves to death for a whole month just to get a few dozen, and yet he received it like that. Some of them heard that Hao took out a behemoth-class aberration, but they thought he was just bragging because if he really had that skill, he wouldn't be an ordinary member, and he would have gotten promoted long ago. Jin expressed that the battle would have been definitely carried out by instructor Lin Yongxin, and some people just got lucky and made themselves look good. Rui called him out for making wild guesses and told him to just keep that to himself. She vouched that Hao's strength was more than enough to crush him. Ying seconded that statement. Jin insists that anyone could talk big. Captain Tang Ye arrived and told them that they're all comrades, so there's no reason to engage in meaningless arguments. Tang Ye was the captain of the Blazing Blood Squad 7. He explained that Hao's points were calculated by the system according to the established rules. He has already verified it with Yangshin. But he also acknowledged that it's reasonable for everyone to be curious about the high-score earner. So he asked Hao for some pointers on everyone's behalf, and he'd wager 40,000 Alliance coins. Their jaws dropped. 40,000 was enough to upgrade a dorm room to a single room with a private bath for a whole year. Ying encouraged Hao to fight him, and if he wins, she volunteered to tell him how to spend the fortune. Hao knew that Jin won't stop tripping him up. He used this chance to establish his authority. At least before responding to the Chief of Staff, he'd be able to reduce necessary trouble. He responded that he'd play along. Captain Tang was recognized as the strongest B rank with rich combat experience. No matter how powerful Hao was, he was just a rookie. Captain Tang informed Hao that his Beast Core has an ice-type ability, and he wanted to see his unique Beast Core armament. He attacked by making ice emerge from the ground. Hao jumped to evade that. As expected of the strongest B rank, the power was much stronger than Feng. But Captain Tang wasn't done yet. He warned Hao to be careful. He unleashed ice crystals. Hao ran away to avoid it. He noticed that although the destructive power was strong, the speed wasn't as fast as Feng's. Then Captain Tang unleashed a glacial star slash. It was a powerful and destructive attack, but Hao remained focused. And he attacked using a beast claw. Captain Tang was caught off guard at how fast he was. Suddenly, Yangshin stopped them. He announced that Hao won this round. He asked Ye if he had any objections. Ye conceded defeat wholeheartedly. Hao expressed that the captain just let him win. The new recruits couldn't believe that Captain Tang actually lost to a rookie. They were curious how Hao did that. With that, they expected that there would be no one there who would have any doubts. Ying got excited about the 40,000 Alliance coins. Rui couldn't help but notice that it seemed like she was the one who won the 40,000. She suggested that as Hao's big sister who takes good care of him, he should give it to her. Jin got annoyed upon seeing how wide their gap was. He was determined to become stronger. No matter what method he'd use, he's determined to kill him. 1 month later, Yancheng asked Lian what was so urgent that he called him. Lian gave him a picture and informed him that in the northwest region, a vicious beastman attack incident occurred. The local patrol team tracked it, and the direction the beastman last disappeared in was Suyin town. Hearing about the beastman, Ancheng had an idea who it was. Lian affirmed his suspicion and told him that the analysis results showed that it was his younger brother, Song Zhao. He asked Ancheng on what is the probability of a beastman recovering their sanity based on his current research. Ancheng replied that it was less than 1%. Beastification was not just physical, but it also invaded the mind. Someone like Hao, who could maintain his original self, was a miracle among miracles, and no one knew how long he could maintain it. He asked what Lian planned to do. If the Beastman couldn't be captured safely, then it could be eliminated. He urged him to think carefully, because if Rui finds out about it, she would never forgive him. Back then, when he placed righteousness over their family, she was already displeased. Leon reasoned that in order to protect more innocent people, it comes with costs. And he firmly believed that. Meanwhile, Rui just got out of the shower when she got a call. Ying found a major intelligence, and she informed her. After hearing about it, she dashed away. She barged in her father's office and asked why he didn't tell her the news about his uncle. He asked if Ying leaked it to her. He warned her not to get involved, and he planned to send the special action team to handle it. She requested to go with them. He asked her if she had the courage to pull the trigger if she was given the order to kill Song Jiao. She couldn't answer. So she was relieved of her mission to protect Hao. Without his order, she wasn't allowed to leave the headquarters. After that encounter in the underground parking lot, Ying had waited for her there because she knew she would come there. She gave him a backpack that contained emergency supplies. And as for her father, she would figure out to buy her some time. Rui thanked her. She pointed out that her favors were very expensive, so she has to remember to pay her back. She recalled the time her uncle protected her from an aberration. She regretted not mustering courage back then and telling her father that her uncle was eroded to protect her. Things probably would have been different. She drove the car while feeling determined on not backing down this time. She swears to find a way to turn her uncle back into a human at the base cafeteria. Ying was glad that Hao finally thanked her properly by buying her a meal, while the unnamed personnel was touched by his gesture, and also it was because he hadn't had such a rich meal in half a year. Hao knew that was an exaggeration. He acknowledged how they had helped him before, and he also happened to have the cash this time, so he encouraged them to eat well. Though he inquired why Rui and Yongji didn't come. Ying informed him that Rui had something to do and asked for a few days' leave, and Yongji seemed to have other missions as well. Hao was under the impression that Rui was actively trying to win him over, just to get him to join the Chief of Staff's faction. But seeing her attitude towards the Chief, it didn't seem like that. It made him wonder what Rui wanted from him. Suddenly, Ying received a message. It made her brows furrowed. She showed it to Hao. It made him jump to his feet. The unnamed personnel asked him what was wrong. He answered that A Shuo woke up. The guy asked if they're going to go see him now. Hao couldn't wait any longer. He instructed Ying to call Ali. She asked why, and the unnamed personnel explained that Hao promised him that he would help find his brother, and they haven't told him that they found a Shuo since he was still unconscious. They made it to the Blazing Blood Medical Research Institute. Ali called out to his brother. A Shuo turned his attention to him. Ali hugged him and asked where he was. He simply apologized. The unnamed personnel cried when he saw this reunion. Hao apologized for interrupting them and expressed that he had some questions. A Shuo asked who he was, and Ali answered that he's their benefactor. Hao showed him a picture and asked if he remembered her. He encouraged him to think about it carefully. Ying jolted his memory by reminding him of March 11th, 2088, where he executed a search and rescue escort mission, and the girl was among them. He remembered that it was the day Crimson Fog erupted. The military temporarily formed a rescue team, and he was sent to the city center to search and rescue survivors. He could remember the scene being extremely tragic. Everywhere there were infected, mutated monsters and dead people. And they found a girl near a crashed helicopter. She didn't have any major physical injuries, but she doesn't remember anything. And they could only send her to the shelter established by the military. She stayed in the shelter for about 2 days, and 2 people came. They held a warrant signed by the higher-ups. The paperwork was complete. They said they were taking her for psychological trauma treatment. How probed where they took her? Because she doesn't remember anything, she had no one to look after her, so he wanted to escort her to the treatment. And the destination was Suyin Town. After arriving at Suyin Town, he received other mission arrangements. After he left, an accident happened, and he doesn't remember anything about what happened after that. How ingrained in his brain about Suyin Town? Ying was bothered by this because Suyin Town was there, Zhao had appeared recently, and Jue was taken there. She knew that wasn't a coincidence. She got curious on what secret the town has. Meanwhile, Rui reached Suyin Town, an outer mountain area. They had investigated the entire town, but there was no news of her uncle. She wondered if her uncle was truly in the mountains, and also, she's curious what those guards were guarding. The guard asked his colleague why the boss wanted them to strengthen the security. The colleague replied that people had been asking around for news in the town, and their boss was afraid that the matters in there would be exposed. Rui saw that they loaded the trucks. She could tell that whatever was loaded in there wasn't ordinary. She noticed the CCTV, and only then she realized that the place has surveillance, and the guards saw him, too. They took out their guns and aimed at her. They didn't want to let her get away, and they immediately notified their boss. Rui ran while they fired at her. The guards notified the perimeter to catch her. She kept running. Several people blocked her path, but she didn't want to be stalled there. She attacked them with electricity, and that blasted them away. For this covert operation, she only wore beast core gloves, so she can't use her full power. But it should be enough to deal with those small fry. The guards realized that she was an ability user. One of them told the guards to get out of the way. He was mad that she dared to sneak into his territory. She glanced at him and hit him with her ability. But that guy claimed that it didn't even hurt. He grabbed her wrist and threw her on the ground. This man is an underground boss, and he's a B rank. He demanded to know who sent her. Rui was surprised that her lightning strike had no effect on him. That led her to consider that he could be an ability user too. This time, almost all of her enemies went to take her down, but she struck them with her lightning. Unfortunately, the underground boss has lightning resistance. Although she can't use her ultimate move, paralyzing him temporarily should be no problem at all. She used electromagnetic annihilation. It was such a powerful attack that the impact made the ground crack. The underground boss made the ground rise for it to be his barrier. If he hadn't done that, he might have lost to her. He warned her that she won't get another chance. He revealed that he's wearing a military combat suit type M1, which could amplify the user's abilities and increase the user's resistance to strikes. She recognized that military combat suit, so she asked why he had that equipment. He ordered everyone to get her. After interrogating her for the person behind her, he would let his men have fun with her first. One of the guards had claimed the first turn. Rui was in a difficult position. Without the combat suit's assistance, using her ability causes a state of exhaustion. Suddenly, this guard was punched. Hao had arrived. He asked Rui if she's okay. She was surprised to see him. The underground boss and his men were alarmed that an accomplice showed up. He issued an order to take them down, and he would reward his men 10% of the mine's profits. Of course, those men got motivated, so they charged right away. Ying prepared her wind and blew them away. The underground boss got pissed off that another ability user showed up. He asked who exactly they were. Ying asked them the same question. She also demanded to know why they attacked Rui. The underground boss was annoyed that they had sneaked into his territory, and for that, they would all have to die. Rui warned Hao to be careful because he was an ability user too, and his combat power was at least B rank. Hao raised one finger in the air. Rui asked if he meant to solve it in one hit, and he responded that he would be done in 1 second. It angered the underground boss even more, so he charged ahead. He didn't like that Hao acted tough in front of him. But before he could do anything, Hao's beastification, Fist Heavy Strike, had already landed on him. To Hao, it was the perfect time to test the results of instructor Yongshin's training. The underground boss was thrown real far, and he was left unconscious. Hao suggested that they leave at once. They rode the three-wheeler bike and got away. After a while, they rested at a safe spot. Hao informed Rui that he heard from Ying that she took leave and skipped training to come to Suyin Town to investigate someone. He asked if those people earlier were the ones she was investigating. She admitted that she actually sneaked out. Hao realized that Ying just lied to him with a straight face, and she just stuck her tongue out when she noticed that he already knew. Then she asked Rui why she was attacked by those people. She shared that they were a local underground gang. She discovered their stronghold in the mountains, but she doesn't know what they were secretly plotting. However, they weren't the target that she's investigating. She shared that she had an uncle that was contaminated by crimson fog during an incident, and later, he went missing. There was intelligence saying his tracks were found there, so she came to investigate him. Hao asked why she would investigate secretly. He asked if the chief of staff didn't allow her. She revealed that her uncle's beastification was worse than Feng's, and it was even more dangerous. She blamed herself for making her uncle like that, so she vowed to protect him. Rui also revealed that she invited Hao to join the Blazing Blood because she hoped to borrow his power to find a way to turn her uncle back to a human. Now, the transaction she mentioned earlier made sense to Hao. Basically, she wanted to save her uncle regardless of the chief of staff's opposition. He became honest with her that if the situation was like a shuo, he could handle it, but if it was beatification like Feng's, he wasn't sure he could handle it. But he promised to do his best to help. Her expression brightened when she heard that. She smiled and thanked him. Now that everything's cleared up, Ying suggested that they head out. Rui asked why they came there. Hao informed her that Aisho had woken up and told them that Shua was taken there half a year ago. The past few days, he tried every way to ask for news, but most people were very hostile towards him. He had a feeling that there must be some connection between those events. No matter what, he was determined to find his sister at Suyin Town. Ying was getting annoyed since they were chased endlessly. It was like they poked a nest. Rui didn't want to get entangled with them and waste time, so she told them that they have to break through. Ying saw one that slipped through the net. To their surprise, that guy was hit by a person that suddenly showed up. Hao asked who was there. The man revealed himself and told them not to attack since he was on their side. It was Captain Tang. Rui asked what he was doing there. He told them to follow him since that wasn't the place to talk. He revealed to her that he was there on orders from the chief of staff to find her uncle and also ensure her safety. He heard some fighting earlier and guessed that it might be them, so he came looking. She asked if he was alone. He explained that the team members were at the temporary camp in the mountains. They found traces of beastmen. But there's an overlord class aberration active in the mountains, so they were trying to find a way to bypass it. He told them that the chief of staff's intention was for them to return now, and all disciplinary actions could be mitigated. He encouraged them to leave the search mission to the professionals. Rui insisted that since it was her uncle and there's a lead, she had to go. If they had to use force against her uncle, she could still stop them in time. Ying supported her and also volunteered to take care of the aberrations while she's at it. Since they were so determined, he couldn't force them. He informed them that they had found a path that leads inside, and after that was done, he hoped that they would all return with him. But first, he had to notify his teammates. Hao asked if they had seen any buildings like a research lab while they were searching the mountains. Captain Tang told him that what they saw was an abandoned building that looked a bit like a research institute. He asked how he knew. Now Hao knew why they didn't see the research lab Ashuo mentioned in town earlier. It was actually hidden in the mountains. He definitely had to go inside. Captain Tang led them there. As Ying expected, no one was monitoring the place. There wasn't even any electronic equipment set up. Before heading in on the cave, Hao called Rui for a moment. He gave her an item and told her to go back to Ying's car for a second. Ying proudly informed her that it was Hao's grand gift. He used a Thunder Beast core and 150,000 Alliance coins to upgrade her weapon. She thanked him. Ying asked when she would receive one. She pointed out that she took a huge risk bringing him there. He told her to get to work first. Captain Tang reminded them to be alert once they're inside. He told them to keep going and they would reach their territory camp. Ying saw on her device that the energy reading there was very chaotic. A rock snake-like aberration watched them from a cliff. It spits at them. And the target was Ying. Captain Tang rushed to her aid and blocked it. He didn't expect that aberration to be hiding there. It broke his shield, and the acid hit his shoulders. It was an Overlord-class Rattletail Python. Hao noticed how it seemed like Captain Tang knew in advance that Ying would be attacked. Tang informed them that the aberration was very good at camouflage. Their squad suffered a lot because of it. He got poisoned, so he might not be able to help much. Hao offered to handle it. He charged at it while the Rattletail Python attempted to eat him. He hit it all over its body. Captain Tang was impressed that Hao could suppress an Overlord class all by himself. He didn't expect that, so he even thought he could spar with him before. Ying claimed that he was their ace. Hao noticed a shadow on the clouds. When it descended, the ground shattered. It was an Overlord-class Minotaur blazing beast. Another aberration showed up, and it was an Overlord-class steel-backed burrowing lizard. Ying asked what's going on. Rui had no idea either. Usually there was just one Overlord class in an area. A man appeared on the edge of the cliff, and it looked like he expected them to come there. It was the underground boss from earlier. He admitted that last time he was careless, so now he wants to see how arrogant he could be this time. Hao didn't expect that he could also control the aberrations. He noticed that compared to the ones in Chishi City, their obedience was higher. He got intrigued on how he had done it. Captain Tang apologized for leading them into danger. He volunteered to temporarily restrain the snake while he left the rest to them. Ying was worried if he could handle it by himself. She told him not to work too hard. He promised to bring them back safely, and he was determined to fulfill that duty. Hao told Rui that if they wanted to search for people in peace, they had to clear those obstacles first. He suggested splitting and dealing with them. She took the gorilla as it was also the chance for her to try her new weapon. They got into action. Captain Tang used a glacial epic to the snake, and the ice restrained it. The underground boss was confident that Hao wouldn't be able to break the defenses of the steel-backed burrowing lizard. He pointed out that the girl's wind would be useless. So now, the first was 4 against 1, and he expected them to cry. Hao responded to his comment that it was 4 against 1. He suggests that he takes it back. Especially now that Rui was in a state of rage, even him wouldn't dare to provoke her. Rui took a deep breath and got into position to fire. She really liked her new weapon. It felt strong, steady, and reliable. The ox-head crimson flame beast charged straight at her. It swung its fist at her, but Rui dodged quickly. The punch slammed into the ground instead, cracking it apart. Rui didn't waste a second. She steadied herself and fired at point-blank range. The blast was so strong that it sent the huge beast flying backward. Meanwhile, Hao faced the steelback burrowing lizard. He rushed forward without fear and slashed at it with his arm. Ying followed up by attacking its head, but the underground boss riding the lizard noticed the attack and made it fade away. Ying frowned when she realized the man could cancel elemental attacks. It was extremely annoying. The steelback burrowing lizard opened its mouth and fired a powerful beam of energy. Hao and Ying quickly jumped out of the way. They regrouped. Without saying a word, they already understood each other. Hao gathered strong energy in his hand, and Ying wrapped it with her earth-surging tornado. The attack slammed into the steelback burrowing lizard. The creature thrashed around in pain, shaking violently and throwing the underground boss off its back. In anger, it fired beams from all three of its mouths at the same time. The underground boss now looked completely cornered. Before he could even catch his breath, Hao rushed at him. Hao grabbed the man by the face and hurled him straight toward the steelback burrowing lizard's beam attack. Luckily for him, the man had elemental resistance. When the lizard finished firing its beams, Hao slashed it again. At the same time, the ox-head crimson flame beast was already on its last breath. Rui stared in disbelief. She had defeated a Dominator-class beast all by herself. Ying walked over and saw that Rui was done too. The only enemy left was the snake. Captain Tang was using all his strength to trap it in ice. He didn't want it interfering with the others. Just then, Rui and Hao arrived. Rui fired while Hao slashed it with his arm. The snake was taken down easily. They calmly walked away as if it were nothing, while Captain Tang watched in silence. Rui said that the weapon Hao gave her was very useful. Hao smiled and said he was glad she liked it. Ying told them to check on the wounded. Ying checked on Captain Tang, who said he was fine. He praised how beautiful the battle was. Rui replied that it was all thanks to him holding the snake down. She promised to report his actions properly once they returned. Meanwhile, the underground boss tried to run away. 2 men stepped in and blocked his path. Captain Tang was relieved they arrived in time. That man needed to be questioned properly. Hao grabbed the underground boss by the neck. The man begged for his life. Since they didn't have much time, Hao told him to speak honestly if he wanted to live. He asked what they were doing in the mountains and why the area was locked down. The underground boss pulled out a red crystal and said it held special energy the military didn't know about. They had been secretly mining it and selling it on the black market. He pointed toward the mine pit and said, Hao could take all the crystals if he spared his life. All this trouble was just for mining. One of Captain Tang's subordinates said that when they first set up camp, they did notice strange crystal debris on the ground. Hao set aside the mine for now. What he really wanted to know was how the man could control those aberrations. Rui was also curious about where his military combat suit came from. The underground boss hesitated. Hao shouted at him, scaring him into speaking. The man finally admitted that someone powerful had been backing them and provided the equipment. They were talking while standing near the ox-head crimson flame beast. Hao, Captain Tang, Ying, and the 2 subordinates had their backs to it, while Rui stood facing them. Suddenly, the aberration opened its eyes and charged at them. No one expected it to still be alive. Hao dropped the underground boss. As Hao rushed toward the beast, the underground boss seized the moment and attacked Ying while she was distracted. At the same time, at Suyin Town Mine, a person wearing a robe entered the mine. She slowly looked around the area. Her hands were pitch black, and when she touched the red crystal, her skin immediately turned crimson. She poured her power into the crystal, and her hand gradually returned to black. She estimated that this would suppress the erosion for a short while. Suddenly, she sensed something unusual. She lifted her hood, revealing a red-haired woman with a single horn. That discovery made her curious about who was controlling the aberrations. Back at Suyin Town Valley, the underground boss tried to assassinate Ying before making his escape. Ying sensed the danger at the last second and turned around, but blood was still spilled. Captain Tang blocked the knife with his bare hand and was stabbed. Since the underground boss was seeking death, Captain Tang was more than willing to oblige. He transformed his free hand into sharp ice and slit the man's throat. Meanwhile, Rui and Hao were fighting the aberration. Rui asked why Captain Tang killed the man. He tried to explain that his reaction had been instinctive. Ying felt regretful since there were still many things they could have learned from him. Rui asked what had happened. He explained that the underground boss attempted to kill Ying. The situation became dangerous, so he didn't hold back. She knew Ying could have easily avoided a sneak attack of that level. She suggested that Captain Tang had been overly protective. He explained that everyone in the Blazing Blood was outstanding, but he was unwilling to gamble even on the smallest risk. He would rather make a mistake than allow any harm to come to his teammates. Rui accepted his explanation and asked if his hand was all right. She decided they should return to the temporary camp immediately for treatment. The red-haired woman stood on a cliff watching the military forces below. One person caught her attention. It was Hao. Hao suddenly felt someone watching him and glanced around. Rui noticed his reaction and asked what was wrong. He said it was probably just his imagination. They continued forward. The red-haired woman quickly hid behind a boulder. Memories surfaced in her mind. She saw an image of Shu standing beside him. She realized that it was her brother. Dang. Both of them got mutated and got monster powers now, huh? The military arrived at a building. Captain Tang explained that they had already searched this research lab before and found no one. It had been abandoned. He asked Hao if something felt off. Yan suddenly had a thought. He rushed inside to check it himself. Ying followed him. She told the others to continue searching and said they would stay in contact. Hao was moving too fast, so she told him to slow down. He pushed the door open and called out, asking if anyone was inside. She asked if this was the place Ashuo had mentioned. Judging from its condition, she could tell it had been abandoned for quite some time. Meanwhile, Captain Tang suggested that Rui leave this area to them so she could search elsewhere. She agreed as it was their only option. They walked together in silence, until she asked whether the general staff had only assigned him to conduct searches. He admitted that aside from the search order, he was also authorized to annihilate the threat directly if the situation exceeded expectations. The way he described annihilation intrigued her. He emphasized that determining whether the situation exceeded expectations was entirely his on-site judgment. If Zhao could be suppressed, there would be no need to annihilate him, but they had to locate him first. Rui thanked him for that. At the Valley Temporary Camp, they held a meeting. On Captain Tang's side, nothing had been discovered. Hao, however, had found a hard drive and a notebook. Ying was already working on repairing the hard drive. They read the diary entries. On April 30th, 2088, an accident occurred. A landslide caused the Crimson Fog storage tanks to rupture, infecting a large number of townspeople. On May 3rd, 2088, the Iron Blood faction of the military launched a so-called purification operation, which was essentially a massacre. The writers were ordered to secretly capture surviving infected individuals to study the beatification phenomenon. Then, on May 18th, 2088, newly relocated residents discovered a type of red ore at the landslide site that could absorb Crimson Fog. An agreement was reached to mine the ore in secret. On June 4th, 2088, it was revealed that the frequent mountain movements were caused by a behemoth-class aberration hiding underground and attempting to break free. Superiors issued an immediate evacuation order, emphasizing that the Alpha research subject, a girl, must be protected. The evacuation was rushed, and all beastmen were disposed of. The writer questioned whether their research into Crimson Fog had been right or wrong. Rui asked what the Alpha research subject was, but Hao had no answer. Ying suddenly exclaimed in excitement. The hard drive repair was successful. She opened the file and saw the Alpha research subject. It looked exactly like Zue. She immediately called Hao over. Ying showed them something on her laptop. She had recovered part of the hard drive, and the data inside looked important. She revealed the file of the Alpha research subject, Yan Shui. Hao was shocked when he saw Shu's name. Captain Tang walked over and asked if they had found anything useful. From their voices, he could tell something serious was going on. Ying quietly clicked on her laptop. She opened a folder filled with photos of humanoid monsters. Everyone studied the images carefully, but it was only a distraction. The diary they found contained secret military information and mentioned Shui directly, so they couldn't show it to Tang yet. Hao told Tang that the hard drive was the only thing they found, and that they didn't know who did the research. Rui said the condition of the Beastmen could help her father's research. She noticed it looked very similar to her uncle's condition in the past. She wondered if finding more data could help restore her uncle's sanity. Captain Tang pointed at another folder and asked what was inside. Ying said she didn't know because she hadn't opened it yet. The screen showed a woman standing beside a massive monster. Hao was shocked to see Zue. He was confused about why she was with an aberration. Tang became alert when he saw it was a behemoth-class monster. He asked if it was near their location, because if it was still alive, it would be a disaster for the whole region. He asked when the photo was taken. Ying answered that the data showed it was from 3 months ago. Captain Tang studied the sun angle and shadows in the photo. From that, he figured out the location was the West Side Valley. He announced that he would lead a squad to check the situation right away. He told Ying to contact him if she discovered anything else. As soon as he left, Hao demanded to see Shuei's full profile. They saw that her body stats were far above normal human limits. But something felt wrong because the report didn't match previous Beastman records. The name Hong Zhengnan appeared in the file. The surname Hong made Hao think of the Mr. Hong they had heard about in Chishi City. Rui said her father once tried to investigate Hong's link to the Green Vine Group, but found nothing. She believed that if Hong was involved in his sister's experiment, then she might be held by someone from Green Vine. The clues were starting to connect. Hao said he wanted to find the aberration. He believed Zhue being there was no coincidence, and that they might uncover new leads. Ying said she wanted to go with him. The situation was complex, and fast analysis was needed. Rui added that having one more person meant more support, so she would go too. Captain Tang's team moved out together with the three of them. One soldier pointed at a rock with a strange shape. They realized the aberration had been hiding its body. That explained why they didn't find it earlier when searching for Zhao. Ying said the vital signs were very weak, matching signs of deep sleep. For now, she believed there was no danger. They kept moving closer. Soon, they stood right in front of its face. One soldier was stunned, since it was his first time seeing a behemoth-class monster. Suddenly, an alarm rang loudly. Ying said something was wrong as the vital signs were rising fast. The behemoth-class monster opened its eyes. They quickly retreated after realizing it had been pretending the whole time. Captain Tang ordered everyone to spread out and form a defensive line. Their ice barrier shattered when the monster breathed fire at them. One soldier was hit directly in the face by the flames. Captain Tang grabbed his radio and told them to contact headquarters. Rui found it strange because the monster could attack directly, yet it was spraying fire across a wide area instead. Ying realized the monster was changing the area around them to trap them there and kill them. Hao knew they couldn't wait for headquarters anymore. They had to stop it now. He told everyone not to panic. The aberration was still stuck in the mountain, so it couldn't move much. Its vital signs also hadn't fully recovered yet, which meant they still had a chance. That was good news. Rui suggested they work together to contain it. This was the perfect time to test the teamwork they trained for. Ying attacked first, sending sharp wind blades at it. Rui fired her gun as Hao rushed forward. He sprayed red liquid straight at its face. Steam burst out. Thick smoke spread across the area. They used that moment to retreat. The aberration's eyes suddenly glowed bright. They saw its body start to move. The situation turned bad fast. It was about to break free. Then it stood up completely. Rui muttered that this was getting really troublesome. The monster loomed over them and let out a deafening roar. The behemoth-class aberration stood up. Hao said they had to stop its rampage. Rui added that if they failed, the town would be wiped out. Headquarters support would not arrive in time. She told Captain Tang that she needed his help. The soldiers looked nervous. Captain Tang said Rui and her team had defeated a behemoth class before, but he knew his men couldn't handle it. He advised them to retreat first. Someone shouted a warning that a breath attack was coming. The soldiers ran while telling the others to stay alive. Captain Tang told them to leave it to him. He raised a massive ice wall to block the fire breath. Then he activated his skill, Glacial Star Slash. Ying praised him. It was beautifully executed. Tang told them to focus on attacking while he handled defense. Hao wondered if Tang really had the strength to block a behemoth-class breath attack. Tang's earlier move also troubled him. Rui noticed he was distracted and asked what was wrong. Hao simply said he was fine. They saw the behemoth charging again. Rui fired her gun. At the same time, Ying released her sonic wind blade. The monster saw the attacks coming. It swept them away with its tail. Hao realized the aberration's body was extremely tough. Long-range attacks couldn't deal real damage. He struck different parts of its body. Then Hao noticed an incoming attack. He couldn't dodge in time and was slammed into the rocks. He said close-range fighting was also dangerous. This brute was more aggressive than the one in Chishi City. After hitting Hao, the monster turned toward the others. Rui asked why it suddenly stopped moving. Tang guessed it was exhausted. Ying said the vital signs looked strange. She realized its vital signs had been weak the whole time, but when the eye on its forehead lit up, they spiked wildly. It was forcing itself to gather power. From this, Hao concluded that the monster had internal injuries. That was why it couldn't keep releasing strong attacks. Rui suspected the eye was the key, so she suggested attacking it first. They all attacked at the same time. Red crystals scattered everywhere. The crystals began to glow with golden light. Then they exploded. The monster used the shockwave from the explosions to cancel their attack. Rui realized something was wrong. It felt like the monster knew their fighting styles perfectly. Hao asked if she had a better plan. Rui said she did, but it would need everyone to work together. Captain Tang said he was in. Rui told Hao to rush in, grab its attention, and force it to attack him. Hao moved right away and provoked the monster. Rui predicted it would use a long-range breath attack. Captain Tang stepped in and blocked the breath attack. As soon as the attack ended, they struck during its brief pause. Hao activated his beastification fist. He punched the monster, sending it stumbling backward. Rui moved into position and aimed her gun. She fired. They expected the monster to react slowly, but knew it would try the same trick again. Rui told Ying to blow away the crystals. Ying hit them. The monster let out a loud groan. Rui knew the damage wasn't fatal, but it temporarily sealed its abilities. She then gave the signal to Captain Tang. He used his heart-piercing spear. He threw it at the aberration. He said it was a perfect plan. But he apologized as he suddenly launched an attack toward Hao. Hao felt a surge of danger. He snapped his head around, but it was already too late. The ice blade pierced straight through his shoulder. Rui shouted that he was insane. Ying froze in shock, her mouth wide open. Captain Tang held up a red crystal sealed inside a container. Then he walked to the behemoth-class aberration and stood beside it. He said he didn't expect the monster to fail at killing them. Still, thanks to them weakening it, he finally had his chance. Rui demanded to know who he really was and what he wanted. Ying realized he had to be the person her father and the others were investigating, the so-called army mole. But Tang had clearly helped them block attacks earlier. That made Ying wonder if it had all been fake. Tang said that if he hadn't earned their trust, he could never have led them to this place. He revealed that from the moment he accepted the mission, everything had gone according to his plan. The Overlord-class monsters from before were just pawns under his control. He used the smell of their blood to awaken the behemoth on purpose. He thought the behemoth alone would be enough to kill them all. He only needed to take Hao away afterward. He didn't expect them to be this troublesome. Hao couldn't believe someone would go through all this just for him. He asked what the people behind Tang really wanted. Tang replied that Hao would understand once he arrived there. Ying shouted that the readings were spiking wildly. The behemoth was burning through its life force to launch a powerful attack. It unleashed multiple fire breaths. Hao told the others to hold the monster back while he went after Tang. He warned them to be careful. They told him to be careful too, and to come back alive. Tang revealed that he wasn't just B rank. He said it was time to show his real strength. Hao knew retreating now would only lead to being hunted down. The only way out was to take down the controller. Tang kept firing ice blades. Hao blocked them one after another with his claws. Tang realized controlling a behemoth-class monster was far more draining than he expected, but he still refused to give up. Hao spotted an opening and punched Tang. Both of them fell off the cliff. They slammed into the ground, leaving a deep crater behind. They immediately jumped back from each other. Tang realized Hao was trying to defeat him alone. That meant Hao was confident. Tang mocked him, saying Hao might not even beat him at his peak, let alone now. It felt like Hao was seeking death. At that moment, Tang's energy had already dropped to 180 out of 260. Tang unleashed a wave of ice blades, then he activated his frozen domain. Ice locked Hao's arms and legs in place. Tang formed an ice sword and charged straight at him. Hao blocked the strike with his arm claws. They clashed, then pulled back at the same time. Their movements were fast and hard to follow. They separated to regain their footing. Hao took a fighting stance. Then he vanished. Tang scoffed, asking if cheap tricks were all Hao had. Ice erupted from the ground, forming a cage around him. Tang groaned in frustration while watching his surroundings closely. Hao appeared above him and seized his chance. Meanwhile, the behemoth-class aberration stood tall and cornered the other two. Ying shouted at Hao to end the fight quickly. They had no path to retreat. Tang admitted that Hao was strong, but he was confident he would be the final winner. Hao gathered red energy in his palm. It grew larger as he hurled it forward. Tang raised ice shields on both hands to block it. He merged the shields together and stopped the attack. The impact was massive. Shockwaves rippled across the ground. Tang pushed and redirected the force upward. The blast shattered the rocks above them. Tang mocked Hao, saying in attack that small could never break his defense, but a huge boulder was already falling. Tang noticed it too late. His eyes widened as it dropped right over him. The boulder slammed down. His scream echoed through the area. Tang managed to escape quickly. He mocked Hao, calling him naive for thinking he could be defeated like that. But Hao had already expected this. He had been waiting for Tang to step out of the ice barricade. Tang was caught completely off guard. Now nothing could stop Hao. He struck Tang hard, blood spraying everywhere. Tang screamed in pain and coughed up blood. Hao told him it was over. The queen bee poison had already reached his heart, so resisting was pointless. Tang finally realized he had underestimated Hao. Hao warned him that as long as he used his powers, the poison would spread faster through his body. He urged Tang to surrender because there was no chance left to win. Tang refused. As a core member of Green Vine, he would never become a prisoner. Huge ice crystals burst out of the ground, with Tang at the center. He chose death instead. Even at the end, he refused to reveal anything about Green Vine. Hao suffered backlash from the fight and coughed blood. The power cost was too high. Even so, Hao admitted that Tang had been strong. Meanwhile, the behemoth-class aberration sensed something. Then it shut down. It stopped moving completely, and Ying immediately knew Hao had won. Hao appeared behind them. They asked if he was okay. He answered that he was. Ying asked what happened to Tang since they needed to bring him back for questioning. Hao told her that Tang had taken his own life and revealed nothing. Rui realized that Green Vine members were far more loyal to their organization than she had expected. Hao told her they could investigate Green Vine later. For now, he was just glad they had all survived. Rui suggested returning to headquarters first. Their condition made it impossible to continue. Ying agreed. Reckless action was one thing, but what they did today crossed the line. Before leaving, Ying asked how they should deal with the aberration. It had overdrafted its power and was completely drained. Hao said they needed to move fast, since Tang had mentioned reinforcements. Ying checked her device and frowned. The readings didn't make sense. She wondered if the instrument was broken. Suddenly, someone appeared. She thought it was Tang's reinforcement. They watched carefully. Ying warned Hao to stay alert. The detector had never reacted this violently before, especially at such a distance. Hao could also feel it. That person was strong, dangerously strong. Rui recognized who it was. The person walked up to the behemoth-class aberration and cut off its head in one clean strike. It was her uncle, Song Zhao. Hao was stunned. He thought Zhao had lost his sanity because of beastification. Rui said she didn't know what had happened either. Zhao said he had watched their entire battle. He claimed that being able to fight like this while still not fully evolved meant Hao's potential was extraordinary. Hao asked what he was talking about. Zhao invited him to join him and help create a new world. Hao asked what kind of nonsense that was. Rui ran toward her uncle. Ying told her to stop. But Zhao glared at Rui. The look alone froze her in place. Tears filled Rui's eyes as she tried to tell him she was his niece. She asked if he could recognize her. Hao and Ying grew worried. Hao started to wonder if Zhao was the same as before. He thought maybe Rui could wake him up, just like Shui once woke him. But the terrifying killing intent pouring from Zhao confused him. Hao knew that provoking him would only make things worse. Rui begged her uncle to come back. Without warning, Zhao struck her in the chest with his arm. Her necklace shattered, stained with blood. She asked him why, but he called her an inferior creature. He pulled his arm back and threw her away. She crashed near Ying. Her injuries were severe. Ying's legs gave out in shock. She felt completely helpless. Hao exploded with rage. A powerful aura burst out from his body, sending waves of wind outward. He fully transformed and charged forward, screaming that he would kill him. Hao attacked Zhao. Zhao said Hao's current state wasn't bad at all. He grabbed Hao's hand, pulled him in close, then kicked him hard in the torso and sent him flying. While Hao was still in the air, Zhao chased after him and punched him again. Zhao said there was a huge gap between them that Hao could never cross. He asked if Hao wanted power like his. He grabbed Hao by the face, but Hao growled that he would kill him. Zhao slammed him down and told him to feel sorry for himself. Hao's state was still unstable and needed more refinement. Suddenly, a massive dragon-like aberration appeared in the sky. A red-haired woman was riding on its back. They descended toward the ground. The strong wind from the wings blasted rocks away. Even Ying almost lost her footing. The aberration landed between Zhao and the others, blocking his path. Hao, lying on the ground, wondered who she was. Zhao praised the red-haired woman, saying her control was exquisite. He said she was the kin they had been searching for. That proved following the mental imprint to that small town had been worth it. He told her not to waste her talent. He knew the man on the ground was important to her. He said the two of them were qualified to step into the new world. She shouted at him to shut up. She refused to be his kin. That woman was Shui. Zhao said the trash from earlier needed crude devices to control aberrations and couldn't even come close to her level. But even so, the gap between him and her was still huge. Unknown to them, Jin was hiding behind a boulder. He was furious that Zhui suddenly appeared and ruined his and Tang's plan. He wanted them to keep fighting. The more brutal it became, the better. He planned to wait until both sides were badly injured. A strange lump of flesh was embedded near his heart. It was an improved item. Compared to capsules, it helped resist crimson fog erosion much better, but the strain on the body was extreme. Jin thought about how amazing Mr. Hong's creations were. As long as he could get revenge, the cost didn't matter. He moved toward the beheaded aberration and activated corrosive absorption on it. The ability dissolved and absorbed biological tissue and energy. Meanwhile, Zhao told you that she had perfect power, yet was trapped by childish emotions. He said it was a pity. He told her that one day she would understand the gap between herself and ordinary humans. Then he left. She got off the dragon and walked toward Hao. She knelt beside him and apologized for arriving late. Tears ran down her face as she said she was afraid he would hate her if he saw what she had become. She was even more scared that she might lose control and hurt him. She said she wanted him to forget about her and stop searching for her, but before leaving, she had one last thing to give him. She walked toward the corpse of the aberration and shouted at Jin to get away. Jin laughed arrogantly. He said he was about to break through to A rank. He had confirmed that devouring strong beings was far faster than killing weak soldiers. Now, he was ready to take revenge on Hao. He stepped forward, but Shui blocked his path. She kicked him hard in the face. She said that if he weren't useful to Greenvine, she would have killed him long ago. She warned him that if he dared touch Hao again, she would cut him into 1,000 pieces. Zhue picked up a crystal. Jin burned with anger. That crystal held power he had saved for a long time. Now he wanted revenge on both Hao and her. Zhue knelt beside her brother. She placed the crystal in his hand and told him to take care of himself. Then she climbed back onto her aberration. She looked back one last time. Our MC's sister then left without even waiting for her brother to see her. When she reached her destination, rows of soldiers formed a path and greeted her. They had arrived late as support. Shui told them to leave. Hours later, Hao slowly opened his eyes. Ying was crying beside him. She begged him to wake up and get better soon. He told her he was fine. They were back in the medical room again, and it was starting to feel like his second home. Ying was relieved that he woke up. She admitted she was terrified she would be left alone. Her words made Hao jump out of bed. He immediately asked about Rui. Ying's face turned dark. She told him that Rui was already gone. The moment he heard that, rage flooded his chest.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.